Did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Or what's inside. You suck. Finally, we're going to reveal the... Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomic's veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Episode Web of Lies.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Woo! Let's go! Oh, hello.
We should have done before.
What?
Good little Dutch.
Oh, yeah, wake us up a little bit.
Oh, let's go.
Get the fire brewing. We were just down with the grandbaby, though, so we have that sort of baby electricity going. I got to pry the baby away from Shelly for about 5 minutes. Yeah, about 5 minutes, and that was.
Well, I said, hold him now. Well, because he's tiny.
Yeah, and then she was like, and I'm like, I just got him.
You had enough. Last time, you're like, well, we'll wait till he gets a little bit meatier or whatever.
That's right. When I can bounce
8 pounds is not meaty enough.
No, when I can bounce him on my knee, then I'll,
A little tiny head.
Welcome, everybody. You are watching Aaron Live. I am Aaron, and this is Shelly Showtime, and we are back for good times. And
we're back.
Okay, we're back.
We don't guarantee the good times.
That's right.
But
and it's,
we're back.
We can't even promise any quality programming at this point, but
they know that.
Yeah, no, shocker. So anyway, we do have a guest today, though, so that's kind of exciting.
Cool.
JC Vaughn is returning to join us.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Al Capone Vampire, but we're also going to talk about some new goings on at the Price Guide. JC, of course, is the president of GEMSTONE Publishing now, so I know important people. And
we're not name droppers or anything.
No, I'm really, really interested, though, to hear what Overstreet has coming up for the Price Guide, and because I'm a collector.
Yeah, I know.
So
I've seen them.
Very interested in that. So anyway, you guys, plus we have all the usual nonsense that you've come accustomed to on this show. So hang with us. Good times or
might
times,
be had by some.
I was going to say times will be had by some.
A good time. And that was it. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's see who's joining us.
Yeah.
Mark Pengrin says Shelly or you riot. He says it every week. Well, there'll be no riot this weekend. Shelly has made the trip.
Close.
Cigar Gangster is here.
Nice.
Marcus Killiguru. Halder 6480. Halder was actually the first one in, but he got kicked.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
But
Did you do it?
No, on YouTube, I think. I don't know what their problem is, but so Halder was the first one here. You know what you get for that? You get absolutely nothing, but we do appreciate your participation in the show.
You do.
Solitary Rain is here. Stippling Vaughn.
He's so optimistic. I love that about him.
Oh, this is going to be a good show.
It's going to be a good show, not like last weekend. Oh, yeah.
This one's going to be good.
Yeah.
Citizen Ronan is here. Gray Wolf Graphics.
Nice.
Marcus Killigrew, the purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge.
Thanks for dropping the link.
Thank you. You'll find the link to Kit Carter also in the description of this video. along with JC Vaughn's Al Capone Vampire campaign, which we'll be talking about. Well, it's also in the link. Just quick heads up. There's Geek Avenger. There's One Slick Dude.
One Slick Dude.
Bill Maxwell is here. Heat Miser.
He scrolls like that.
Leg
Messes with me.
Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick, of course, is almost always here. H is for Heretic made the trip. The Vespa guy. We're going to show a little bit more Vespa guy stuff.
Be the generous guy.
Yeah, he should be generous Vespa guy because he
So
sent me a bunch of stuff for my birthday that was really cool, and some of it came a little bit later. And we're gonna show the rest of what Vespa guy got me and how it fits in to this studio.
It's like he's paid attention or something.
I know. Ryo Stu is here. Caleb Reynolds. He's anxious. He's like, let's get this show on the freaking road. Bretsky the Great.
Jimmy
Owens is here. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy.
Let's see. Cole King. Not to be confused with old King Cole. This is Cole King. Right. Oh, John Smith. How about that?
Hey,
How
John.
about those Chiefs? He says, I don't know. Did I miss the game? We were playing with the baby.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch the football game, but apparently the Chiefs beat the Ravens.
I did get it. I tell you though, he's brought up Enjoy the grandbaby. I got one of those sleeping smile things.
The baby gave you a little smile when he was
asleep.
asleep.
And a couple of times just a halfer.
Little Elvis.
And then, then he has this, like, he lifts up one side like an Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
So, kid's got talent already.
Excellent. Jake Blues is here. He's tiny, so you can't. He's tiny, so you can't be trusted.
Oh, they don't bounce well then.
Well, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna.
I got a great photo, but I have to run it by them first before we share anything.
Okay. Yeah.
But the baby was like, "What?" Like, it was great.
There's Daniel Russell. How about that? And
Daniel.
There's a bunch of Asian lettering. Baltan. I think it is Asian. Is that like Indian? I don't even know what that is. It's not Sunday without Aaron and Shelley. It surely isn't. Thank you so much for that.
And you missed this nice thing from Daniel.
Oh, okay. Welcome back, Shelley. Oh, of course, self-serving. Welcome back, Shelley. We needed you. The show is getting stale as Aaron's sense of humor. You know what else? You know what else is stale is sometimes is a cannonball, right? So it can be stale.
Too many thingies in there.
Well, I know I wasn't as far down as I thought I was.
I know.
A guy in his room is here. How about that? It's good to see Shelley. He's Storm D. Scrolling. Shelley's eyes are going. I don't know how you can ride like roller coasters and stuff, but you can't look at the screen. I can't ride roller coasters.
I don't know.
They get me motion sick.
Yeah.
Normie Nerds here. Timmy Mellow. They call him Mellow Yellow. Quite right. Let's see. Headless Bourgeoisie is here. Robert Doan's Pills is here. Do you remember Doan's Pills?
No.
You don't remember Doan's Pills? These used to be like for backaches. It'd say, if you had a backache, you take a Doan's Pill.
Oh.
Like, I don't know.
Before maybe I had backaches?
Maybe.
Now I would take several. Every
I don't know. I don't know how you can take a pain pill though that's specifically for one part of your body and doesn't work on the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there you have it.
Huskers got my attention.
Gray Wolf is giving us a little bit of historical knowledge. It says when Capone got out of Alcatraz in 1939 and went home to his place in Miami, my wife's grandfather was his barber.
Whoa.
Woo. Capone bought him 2 TVs for his barbershop and his house.
Nice.
Look at that. Crazy, man. That's a cool story. Enrique Cabrera. I'm always here and nobody ever mentions it. Well,
sorry, we just did.
We just did.
Yeah, if you don't mention it in the chat, then we don't know.
Maybe because I don't comment in the chat. Well, there you go.
There you have it.
So now you've been mentioned twice. That'll make up for something, probably. Brian Suddenly Old is here. He says, I'm not really here, just listening on mobile data, no home internet. Oh. Henry Throne is here. Did I ever wrench Henry? I don't think I did. I was going to. Yeah, I was going to. And then I got
these things down.
Yeah. There's Christina Lynn. I haven't seen you in a while,
Christina.
See you. Let's see what else.
Did you miss me? Geek Avenger.
$2. It wasn't a smile. It was gas.
Well, I'll just take it.
They take it any way you can get it.
Well, because he's like a face circus. He's just got all sorts.
Yeah, he's very expressive.
Yeah.
Doc Brewski says, I cleared a spot on my wall for the Kit Carter poster. Can't wait.
Oh, cool.
You know, I'm going to start working on it. February is the month of painting, and I will be posting progress shots of it. So that should be fun. So keep your eyes peeled for those. It's Japanese, Shelley.
That's what I
Balton
figured.
Seijin. It's Japanese. Dennis C. Nolasco is here. Yo, yo, yo.
Yo.
Let's see. Oh, Jimmy for $4.99. Thank you, Jimmy.
Hey.
Appreciate that. Hope you two are having a good day. Happy you got to see the grandbaby. Yeah, so are we. It's not a bit of a chore to get down there, but it's not like, you know, a couple streets over.
Yeah.
So we sort of have to plan the trip a bit, and so we don't get down there as much as we would like.
It isn't really that much time-wise further than it was to go to my parents from here.
That's true.
It just feels like it.
Because it's on the highway. And it's not like city driving and freeway. Anytime you get on the freeway, you figure you're going.
Gotta hit I-5 and you never know.
Yeah, you figure you're going someplace for a long time. And it really isn't that bad. Lord Hinson, Comics Gator. Hail, Aaron and Shelley. Great to see you all. It's great to be seen. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so Vespa Guy sent me like all these.
I know, so thoughtful.
Birthday presents. Now, here's the last two that I haven't shared yet. Now, here's the thing. I already have this, but you know what I realized? Because I am a mint in box guy, this dude's coming out of the box. And he becomes...
Oh, that one should stay. That one's newer. Maybe still nicer. I don't know, because the other one hasn't really seen the light of day.
No, it hasn't. It's already in the cabinet. But that's what I'm going to do, Vespa Guy. You gave me playthings.
So what we need is more toys.
That's right. And I'm going to switch the heads on it. And
we got all around fun day.
So
I
thank
wish
you
I
for
could
that.
switch my heads. That would be great.
He also gave me Blueberry, which I also have, but Blueberry's coming out of the box. And he will get played with. And I'm going to like take him out and hold him in front of the light and then turn the lights out and see if he glows in the dark.
My gosh. And then you're going to run in and go, Shelly, look.
He glows. So, Vespa Guy, thank you so much. And I want to show this. Andy Smith. Well, he was going to give it to me, but I said, no, I'll pay you for it.
Yeah. So
this is the, you guys haven't seen this. Silvestri did like this Batman story, right? And it took him years. Batman, the Deadly Duo Unplugged. Now, this is just basically the inked work of the story. There's no dialogue or anything. It's just the black and white artwork. And if you haven't checked this out, you really should. And the reason Andy thought I should see this, I mean, I was aware of it, but I just didn't own it and hadn't looked through it, is he says, you know, you're kind of going for this kind of look with Wraith. You should take a look and see what Silvestri did. And I'm telling you, it sort of inspired me to kind of, it's very sketchy and liney, almost Joseph Clement Cole-ish. If you know who Joseph Clement Cole is, he turn of the century pen and ink illustrator. And it has that feel to it. And this is kind of the feel that I've been trying to evolve to with Wraith. So I may use this as a sort of inspirational guide as I do Wraith 3. Look at that. Wraith 3 Fear Hollow. I should have finished that. So anyway, cool stuff.
Nice.
Check it out. But it's definitely for those who are into the art scene.
Eric Boyd's here. Jake Blues. Did we see that one?
Yes.
Vespa. Glad
Eric Boyd made it in.
Yeah.
Craig Smith, the second, is joining us. Excellent.
Ange.
Good. David Williams wants my Batman book.
Send me that.
I'm keeping it.
Hi, Ange.
Angela Curry made it in.
And Aaron.
You're lucky I don't have the clicker right now. Right?
Nope. Saved you.
A little bit of trouble
You
going on right
then
now.
just see the bloop bloop.
So did we mention last time that we straightened up? Well, you weren't here last time.
No.
But you posted about us cleaning up the mailroom.
Yes, I did.
And very exciting. I walk in there and I had to mail out some artwork.
Yeah.
Those of you who watch Graybeards may recall the Man Things inked sketch I did. I sold it already.
Of course,
So I shipped
everything's
it
for
out.
sale.
Everything must go, especially Man Thing. Don't take this wrong, but people seem to love the Man Thing. Just saying.
I'm just saying.
And what brought that to mind was look at these packs of Wraith of God aces and Esters, Queen of Hearts, just sitting here. And I thought this should be in the mailroom.
Yes.
In the inventory.
Because
and
I
that
was
it's up
telling him,
here.
go find, we have comic books all over the house, obviously, and the swag. So yeah, if you zoom in on those pictures, you can see like my little labels. I know Jimmy did because he's like, what I go, stretch goals and swag. But it's nice to have everything in one place. We started by counting. And then after we did Garbage Man, that was the first one we did. We were like, counting, no.
Yeah, we're through.
Let's just get them in a place where they're all together. And it was funny because you go, oh, here's more of, and then you look at one box and it's just all different prints.
Yeah, we kept finding, hidden treasures in there and go, wait a minute. Okay, now we got to add that to the thing. But we finally got it organized.
Yeah. And I was amazed. We don't have very many t-shirts left.
No, but we do have some. I guess I got to get
like single digit.
I know I've been saying this forever, but you guys, you may or may not be aware that I do have a website, AaronLopresti.com.
Yeah.
And I got to get that stuff up there listed on the store site. It's just
I just need to learn how.
So many.
You don't do it, right? You have.
Yeah, I had my guy doing it.
My guy.
I got to.
Well, if your guy would teach this chick, I don't know. I could do.
Well, you know what he'd say.
I'd have to like actually get out of bed.
He'd say, "It's not that hard," and that's like, yeah, for you, a guy's a computer programmer.
Yeah. Well,
so
I used to be smart, so we'll see.
Well, you taught yourself calculus practically. I mean, you got to be smart to do that.
I retaught myself calculus.
Whatever.
So there was some in there.
Same difference.
The only thing I remember of calculus in college was crying. So many people asking me to tutor in calculus, and I was like, "Boo, no." And then I finally was like, "Well, how bad could it be?" And then I was like, "That's it? What the heck was I crying for?"
I just closed the book, so there was never any crying.
Well, I couldn't understand. Their accents were very, very strong. And at that point, I just didn't have the mental capabilities of figuring all that out. And so I just sat there and thought everybody must understand, just not me.
Well, you know what I don't understand?
After I failed the midterm.
I don't understand why people don't like and subscribe to this channel.
Seriously.
That's right. We got to get this to 4,000 subs.
That would be fun.
So let's do it. Let's do it right
and
this
we have
second.
How many likes? Only shows 2 on there, but I'm not sure that that would hurt my self-esteem.
I don't
hurt my feelers.
If we get any likes, I'm surprised. So okay. So I wasn't going to do this, but I am going to do this because
I wasn't gonna, but
I
now I'm
do
gonna
actually have something. So let's yeah.
There.
Well,
Good.
then hang on a second. Okay.
Get it.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I haven't done it in so long. I don't know where the thing's at. Oh, there it is. It's been a long time since I've done the old language alert. Okay, who gave me these? Was this Stippling Vaughn or was it Daniel Russell? I think it was Daniel Russell.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was Daniel Russell.
Vespa guy.
No, it wasn't Vespa guy.
Oh no,
I think this is Daniel Russell.
Marcus?
Yeah, because no, it was Daniel Russell because he is the fiend who sent me these, and I had to eat them last time. I'm not eating them again.
No, that was my mom's favorite. And we'd all leave the room because it would just smell better.
But I'm avoiding sugar right now like the plague to try and get the pounds off that I put on at the holidays. But they're small.
So cute.
Now, what I'd hoped for when I opened these up is that they would be like clear.
Oh,
like dilithium crystal. Clear.
I thought you were gonna say like crystal shaped.
Well, that'd be cool too. But if they were, that old rock candy you used to be able to get. That's what I was hoping for.
We can make it.
What? Can we?
Yeah.
That's that's pure sugar, right?
Yeah, we did. That was one of the science things we did with Joshua. No, thank you.
Peppermint.
No, thank you.
Clears up the.
No.
Sciences. Take the curl right out of your hair.
Oh, I wish. What is happening with this hair?
Spicy.
Awesome.
Be spicy. Now my eyes are
So,
watering. Okay.
how's it going?
Oh man.
Here we go. Oh,
Where are we
somebody
at?
said I love mathing. Oh, mathing. Yes.
Mathing?
Up here.
Well, I believe you. I'm just saying,
Oh,
what is
I
it?
Yes.
You can
I
actually
thought
make
about
a
that.
full deck of cards through Bicycle. Oh yeah. Yeah, but they're
Husker's letting you know what he thinks about it.
what I
Husker!
shut up. Sorry.
At least I turned away. I'm gonna yell in your ear next time.
Here's the thing though. Here's the thing. You do a whole deck of cards. Since I've already set the precedent of designing, I'd have to do every single card. You know how much work that is? And these things are expensive. So when you get these as stretch goals, these are a nice get because they're expensive.
Not to tell you.
saying. You know what we're thinking about doing though?
What?
For Wraith of God 3?
Yeah.
Clay poker chips.
Oh,
With
ruin it.
I'm just throwing stuff out
Ooh.
there. Just throwing it
Reel
out
'em
there.
in.
That's all I'm doing. I'm just throwing it out there. So, you know, that would
That'd be
I think that
fun.
would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you need somebody who could help you organize that.
yeah. Who could help me?
Oh.
Poor old me. Speaking of helping me,
Uh-huh.
let's take a quick look at my Kit Carter
Oh.
campaign, if you all don't mind, which I hope you don't mind because I'm doing it anyway.
I can't even cross my fingers anymore. I am my mother. Arthritis. Okay. Do it.
I'm doing it. All right. So there you go. This is a Kit Carter Planet Doom graphic novel. This is the current project.
Kit Carter, Space Babe. What?
Well, I was thinking of showing something, but I'm not going
You're
to.
looking at me like, what did I
No, I was
do?
looking past you.
Oh,
Not that I don't know what you think.
looks right through me.
Ignoring you or anything,
Yeah.
but I just. So anyway, this is a 64-page graphic novel, Shelley.
I heard about that.
And you know the thing about it is it's
Mm.
not
Oh,
regular comic book
yes.
size. Like, for
It's
example,
messing with the proportions.
if you were
man.
to say grab an award-winning cover comic with an award-winning cover
Yes.
like this, this would be a regular comic size. Kit Carter is going to be 8.5 by 11. It's going to be bigger than this, and I just felt for a galactic adventure,
oh,
make
right.
the art a little bit bigger, make it a little bit
Go
more
big or
fun.
go home.
Exactly. So this is offered to you fine people in a hardcover, in a paperback. There's some interior pages, penciled by me, inked by the great Matt Ryan, colored by the sometimes
phenomenal
great
Matt Ryan.
Kelsey Shannon. And there's double page spread. There's some action there. And look at this. Dan Lawless will be providing the back cover to both editions of the book. And this will probably make it into the gallery too on the inside.
Yes.
And there's another piece that Gary Martin drew and Kelsey Shannon colored. And that will also be in the gallery, only in the hardcover. That'll be in the gallery. Hasn't been colored yet. You can get t-shirts.
Booyah.
You can get black and teal, Shelley. It's not just.
I know.
you can
So
go either way.
colorful.
This is going to be fun. Full color 8.5 by 11 Kit Carter sketchbook. I found that I had so much Kit Carter material because she was created back in 2010-ish.
Way back.
And 2011, somewhere in that neighborhood. And it was like, I just kept flipping through sketchbooks going, look at all this stuff. This should be in a book.
And darn it.
And darn it,
there
it's
it
going to
is.
be. That's exactly what it's going to look like right
You
there. Because
know?
I'm not going to redesign it again. Or, yeah, I guess it would be redesign it. This is the movie poster. This, of course, is a 14 by 36 insert style movie poster they used to call it back in the
You
day.
just go for it.
This is going to be a painting. Now, this is a painting, but it's a watercolor rough, color guide, if you will.
If you will.
That
And
painters,
if you won't, too bad.
that's right, because that's still what it is.
Yeah.
This is what painters do. They kind of get an idea of what their color scheme is, so they're not walking into something blindly. And So
Yeah.
this will be a finished painting, movie poster worthy. We're going to start
Nice.
that. And when I say we're going to start it, I mean me, in February. So I'm very excited to get working on that. And like I said earlier, I'll be posting progress pictures of this.
Do you know
very
how close
exciting.
February is, just by the way?
It's less than a week. It's a few days.
Yeah.
I didn't say when in February.
Okay.
Oh,
That's true. February 29th.
You can get the Kit Carter, I almost said the wrong word. You got the Kit Carter shot glass, and that's laser etched, of course. Now, look, we've gone through all the stretch goals so far up to $100,000. So you get the Empirist trading card by David Williams. You get the Power Blaster trading card by David Williams. You get the Lord Menace trading card by Aaron Lopresti. That would be me.
Mhm.
And you also now get the Mr. Midnight trading card.
Uh-huh.
We remember Mr. Midnight, of course, from the nightclub.
Right.
Is that dog?
I'm gonna go.
It's going to death to the dog. Death to the dog. You can also add on, folks, with Garbage Man trade paperback, the Power Cube trade paperback, which are proving to be sort of popular books in retrospect that people did not catch the first time around. And so if you're going to be a completist, an Empire Comics, Aaron Lopresti completist, then you'll want to get these. If you happen to be one of the few who missed out on Wraith of God, you can get the second printing, number one, or you can get Wraith of God Blood Hunters, which was the last campaign that just came out. And so if you've missed any of that stuff, you can catch it. You can catch it up right here with everything. So some people are saying it's the ultimate campaign. Well, actually, I'm the only one saying that, but I think it's almost true. So anyway, now, one of the things I like to do effectively, I think, is stall while I'm waiting for my guest to show up. And I think I've done it.
I think you've done it.
So you'll find the description. Let me try that again. You'll find the link to the description of this campaign. Let me try that again. You'll find the link in the video, the description of this video. What am I trying? Shelly, help me out.
There'll be a link in the description of this video.
Thank you.
Later. But we all know, just go. And somebody will share it in the good old chat. So our chat is awesome like that.
But this isn't the only campaign that's out there, Shelly.
No.
There's people doing other things. There's people doing important things.
Big things.
There's people doing things with vampires. There's people doing things with the price guide.
I know.
And the value of comics.
These people have so much power. Oh my gosh.
Let me reintroduce to you guys one of our favorite people.
Yep.
And now, I keep saying now like it's a new thing, but it's been like over a year. But the president of Gemstone Publishing, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show, JC Vaughn.
Yay!
Good evening. Good evening. I have an important question. I only heard part of the show from the start. How's the grandparent business?
Oh my gosh. I can't
Pry the baby. When she gets the baby, it's like, let me
I
hold
let
the
him
thing.
hold
Like,
him
"No."
because last time he was like, oh, I'll wait till he gets a little bigger. So I was like, all right. So I did. I gave him. I said, hold. So I took a couple pictures and then I did this. Give me back. Give me back. So I did let.
So you got to have him for like
I let
5 minutes.
our son go change his diaper, and then I let our daughter.
Not my
feed
diaper,
him.
the baby's
Yeah,
diaper.
that'll be later. And then I let her feed him, and then I took him back, and I held him, and it was like he's very expressive because I'm sure they all are, and he doesn't really have eyebrows, but he's got the brow thing, right?
Yeah, the furrow.
And so it's constantly like, oh, he's so concerned, and then these faces, you just go, oh my gosh. And then I got my first, when they're sleeping at first, and then their eyes go, blah, 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 and then he would smile, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, there's one in there. So I can't wait till he actually like smiles because he goes, oh, it's her. I like her. But it's
That's what we're hoping.
it's only the second time we've got to see him, but I guess he's not even 2 weeks old. But it's pretty stinking good. And it's amazing. Like, our son brings him to me and says, let's go see grandma. And to see how my son say that and then hand him to me, I'm a mess.
Good times.
You guys have taken some punches, and this is the total opposite.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what we were just like, in fact, when goes, gosh, what a life we've had. Like, we were just laughing about, like, we didn't know anything and we didn't have anybody really to ask, or you couldn't Google, like, why is my baby screaming and covered in eczema like our child was. And so I go, we were just dumb and we just followed whatever one person told us to do. And now it's like, you can Google it, but then there's 5 million things we're trying to figure out. Like,
Now you have to sort out which advice to
yes,
follow.
and then
Right.
that's stressful.
Fact from fiction. Right. Right.
And because they thought he might have a little medical issue, but they took him up to the children's hospital up here and he's going to be fine. But then the whole thing, like, they've already Googled everything about it. And then, yeah, it's pretty stressful, but yeah, we're looking forward to them learning all sorts of fun stuff too.
Obviously, I wish you guys every success with the campaigns. I wish me success with my campaign, but none of that matters compared to that.
That's real life for sure.
And it was amazing because it was completely iced over here for days. And when that storm really hit, they were in the hospital having him. So none of the grandparents could get there. But then it was good for them to just the two of them. And because I know with Joshua, my room was full of people all day. And finally I had to say, I can't entertain anymore. I got to focus and breathe and whatever. And then we couldn't get there that whole week. We couldn't even get out of our neighborhood. So by the time we got there, they're like, well, we think we're doing okay. And I'm like, compared to where we were about 2 weeks with him, I'm like, you guys are stellar. And he's so not happy because he can't really do the emotion thing, but he's not fussy and crying constantly. Like,
that's pretty great.
Yeah, it's been it's really cool to see your child get that role too. And it does bring you back. Like they say, oh, grandparents
makes you feel old.
They love their grandchildren more than they do. No, we just keep going back to Joshua.
Listen, it's different. And I'm not a parent. I'm an uncle. Mm-hmm. But I know the difference. I've seen this watching my mom with her granddaughters, and it's a different thing. Now, one of the really cute things about that was my mom always thought she wanted girls. And she had 2 boys.
Yeah.
And the granddaughters, she pretty much confessed to me that she was pretty happy she had boys. So
when we had Josh, I thought, I am so good at this. I should write a book. I mean, I found him once he put himself in timeout. I was like, oh, I got this. I'm so good. And then we have Sammy, and we'd put her in timeout, and she'd look at you like, what else she got? He'd put her standing in the corner. Yeah. And then she'd turn around and growl at him. And we were like, we're so in over our heads. We're
like the Omen or something, All right. Enough baby talk. We got to get into the comic book talk. That's really want to hear. Marcus Killigrew says here, he says, I saw Tex on Pop XP last hail at.
It was last week.
Last week, I think. Okay, that's left out a word there. That's okay, Marcus. I forgive you.
We got you.
Jimmy Reyes is in the chat. He says, "Hola, amigos. I popped in. You guys are talking diaper changing." Jimmy's bragging that his oldest grandchild just turned 11, and then Angela Curry said, "Hey, awesome. We're Latino friendly here." I don't know what's going on in the chat, but glad to have you here, Jimmy. Charlie's London, all the way from across the pond. How about that?
Hi, Charlie's London. I love you.
All right. JC, you contacted me and said, I got to come on the show because I got stuff to talk about. And let's get talking. What do you want to hit first? Al Capone?
We could do Overstreet. We could go to Al Capone, whatever you want to do, because it's, the problem is usually shutting me up.
Well, that's why I want you on. Now I can go to sleep. You just wake me up when you're done. Let's I'm really interested. I got a feeling my Overstreet questions are going to get deeper. So let's hit Al Capone first.
Sure.
Get into the comic book price guide stuff, and then we'll do some other things, and we'll come back around to your campaign again.
I'm gonna dip for a bit and spend some time with the dog, so maybe he won't bark the whole time. We were going.
In other words, she's like, "Okay, you guys done talking babies? You can talk comics. I'm out of here."
No. Come on, baby.
Okay, so let me. I've got your campaign here.
Cool.
And let me bring it up, and then let's hear what you got to say. Now, this is This is Al Capone Zero. What exactly are we looking at here, JC?
Al Capone Zero is 3 stories. It is the first story from Vampire PA, which has only ever been done in prose fiction, short fiction before.
Oh, really?
It was in a anthology that Moonstone published originally, and then it was included with some spot illustrations in the Vampire PA trade paperback, but it's never been done in a comic book story before, so we wanted to do that. And then the second story, actually the first Al Capone story, is it takes the character of Detective Sipple, and we showcase why he is tied to Capone going back to Prohibition days. So that'll be intriguing. And then the third one is a preview of this summer's weirdest crossover, Captain Action versus Al Capone Vampire.
Oh, whoa, slow down, big fella. So how did you end up? Is there a picture of Captain Action? And I just didn't, or is
there is not.
Okay. So
because that's only a preview, and I don't want to make it sound like it's super long. It's only 5 pages.
Okay, but the question is now: is Captain Action in public domain, or did you get the rights?
I actually I am friends with the Captain Action Enterprises folks.
Well, you're friends with a lot of people.
I was eating a Wendy's cheeseburger in the parking lot at Wendy's in between different errands.
When suddenly,
no, we should really team up with Captain Action. I'll call those guys. And that's how it started.
Okay, so what you're telling me is eating a cheeseburger somehow made you think of Captain Action?
Yeah, no, I don't think that they were related, though, I know enough not to dismiss it.
All right, I'm bringing this up real quick, just in case people are like not as old as you and I are.
Yeah.
So we'll bring the campaign right back in a second, but this is Captain Action.
That is Captain Action. That is from the DC Comics series, which only lasted 5 issues. It is notable for a number of different things, even though it only lasted 5 issues. Captain Action was an action figure that came out during Batmania. One of the creators of G.I. Joe was involved, and the idea of Captain Action was that he put on costumes and became these other characters. And in his case, the characters included Superman, Batman, Flash Gordon, Spider-Man, Sergeant Fury, the Lone Ranger, and it was, and they came with the costumes for this. And you think about, my favorite example of this is, if you think about how many copies, high grade copies of Amazing Fantasy 15 there are, it's not a lot.
Right.
But if you want the Spider-Man mint in the box costume for Captain Action, there's maybe 5 known copies.
My brother got one of these, and I was so ticked because I was the comic book superhero guy, and he was just, I don't know, why he ended up with, so I was constantly stealing his Captain Action figure, but we just had the Captain Action doll, with the hat, the vinyl hat, but would you buy the costumes separately, or
yes?
Would you buy...
it was totally the Razor and Razor Blades model, Barbie and outfits, G.I. Joe and outfits. It was totally that.
Oh my gosh. And this was like, what, about 67 maybe?
Yeah, right in there.
So, okay. So basically the idea then is you can take Captain Action then and team him up. But you obviously are not going to be able to, he's not going to be able to dress up as Batman or whatever. So
no, I'm in my pitch to them, I went much more the Mission Impossible mask kind of way, where he's impersonating other characters in the story and that kind of stuff. But they've done some great stuff. They did a modern Marvel deal where you could do Thor and Iron Man and I think Cap, and I can't remember who else. But the great part about it was in each of those sets, you got one piece of Hawkeye. So if you got all the sets, you could also build Hawkeye.
Now, was this a great question? John with no H says, so he got their powers as well?
In the original interpretation, yes. in the action figure. Even immediately by the time you get to the comic, it didn't go that direction, though Superman appears in #1.
So he was actually an action figure before he was a comic book character.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's definitely, this is definitely a licensed product.
That is so cool. Because
And,
I mean,
all right,
he
think about
was
this.
the thing. I mean, you
5
could get
issues. Aaron, think about this. 5 issues. The creators are Jim Shooter, Wally Wood, and Gil Kane,
all in 5 issues.
and an Irv Novick cover.
That, you know, it's funny. We were talking on Professionals. This came up because we were talking about, I think, Gil Kane and Wally Wood or something. And this came up, and I was looking at these, and I hadn't seen them in so long, and I thought, dang, these are actually pretty cool. I'm gonna have to go get these. And then I cracked open the Overstreet Price guide and found out how much they were going for, and I'm like, okay, these are not going to be necessarily that easy to find in high grade and a decent price.
I will tell you, there is, let me see if it's handy.
Uh-oh.
You would think I would know right where it is, but I don't. Oh, yes, I do. All right. Last year, after a long, long wait, IDW put out the collection of all 5 issues.
Oh, they did now. Okay.
Now, if you went to the Captain Action people themselves and bought it at their booth, you could get a Dr. Evil cover.
So they did 2 covers on the hardcover of the,
well, it was a hardcover plus a dust jacket.
Okay, the dust jacket. Okay.
And it's really you know, Michael Urie, you know, the former DC and Comico,
yes, I know Michael
guy,
worked with him. Yeah.
Who produces Back Issue, did an authoritative book on Captain Action. I really consider, and I say this as the Overstreet guy, it is the prototype of how to do a character specific kind of book. And it is what I was a G.I. Joe guy. This is what turned me into a Captain Action fan.
So you're saying it's must read?
Oh yeah, and it's probably out of print, and it's probably pricey, but whatever you pay is worth it.
Man, that is cool. Okay, so you're going to, let's get back then to
this is
your campaign here. Oh, so that's an entire book on the mythos of Captain Action, and
not only the mythos, literally the making of.
Interesting. Wow. The things you learn on this show. See, that's why you should tune in every week. Okay, so what are we looking at here on some of this other stuff? So we're looking at 3 covers. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're at 3. There's actually 4 covers. Well, there's 3 up top, and then you see the one below that is just black and white there.
Yes.
That's a black and white Indiegogo exclusive version of John K. Snyder III's cover.
I wondered who did that. I was like, and that's pretty good. Who did that? No, I know him.
Yeah, and John. I first worked with John on Overstreet number 31. His dad was my boss, and it took me 5 years to browbeat him into letting me work with his son on one of our covers. He really, really resisted it.
Oh, really?
He didn't want the favoritism, and you know what? I and politically totally understand that. You know, I mean, in fact, I got to tell you, I respected it because it could have gone. He could have been the exact opposite way, and he just wasn't.
Well, that's cool. I mean, someone actually being self-aware,
yeah,
of that kind of, you know, that I know. I like his stuff. He's done several covers for you over the years, though, hasn't he? Now,
yeah, he actually probably, if I totaled him up, he's probably done more than Murphy Anderson, which would make him the champ.
Well, we got to get me caught up. That's all I'm saying. So you have this EC kind of tribute cover here. This is from Tales from the Crypt 33.
Yeah, Tales from the Crypt number 36.
Sorry about the dog. 36. Well, I was close.
And you know, as we've discussed, my friends with the EC, with the Gaines estate, great folks, and if we've been doing an homage with every issue. We've had one homage cover every issue since we started Al Capone
Is that something you
Vampire.
really need to get cleared, or you just do it out of like
No,
respect?
absolutely no. Listen, if there was something that I felt at all touchy about, I would just not do it.
Right.
Because when you're doing an homage and you clearly are crediting the source of the inspiration, you are not doing that cover. You are doing your take on that cover.
Mhm.
And as long as you're not like I listen, I'll use EC as an example. If I did every issue of Crypt, I think they'd have every right to be honked off.
Right.
You know, but one and I like one of the matter of fact, one of the covers we did on Al Capone #2 wasn't even a comic book. It was the one sheet for the Untouchables.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's just, you know, we mixed
Well,
it up. We did Punch Comics #12, which is that great skull cover that was on #1. Number
well,
three,
you have
in the
leeway.
comic shops, we did Nick Fury #10, which is a Christmas cover.
Right.
And then #4, which was #3 in the crowdfunded version, we did Atlas Seaboard's Fright #1 featuring Son of Dracula.
That's right. And well, I mean, you have copyright leeway as long as you don't get too carried away. You know what I mean?
And
So
one of the things is you can't, you know, it has to be clearly an homage. You can't be just tracing the original or something like that. And you
whoever's
can't, and that doesn't give you license to use their title or
right.
anything else like that, or trademarks.
Right. Of course. I mean, I've done that now. I did Tales of Suspense cover. I did Tomb of Dracula #1, and there's a certain amount of appeal to the nostalgia, you know,
Well,
not just to us who's creating it, but to the market out there too.
Yeah, as much as I am not happy with the sheer volume of variants, our job as creators is really to get people to read the book. And the cover, you know, I a long time ago we started a column in Scoop. I've been one of the guys who does it, and other folks have. And Cover Story is about what cover does its job of making you try something maybe you didn't try before. You know, my classic story is Billy Tucci's She #1. I saw it 3 rows away on the top shelf at my local comic shop the day it came out, and I walked around all the other stuff to get to it. And to me, that's the idea. That's your best case right there. It made me pick it up. I opened it up and go, okay, I'm getting this.
Yeah, and I think
and
there's.
So, and, I was going to say, I think got people our age and older out there. I want them to read my stuff too. So why would I not do an homage to the greatness that was EC?
Well, and there's something sometimes the iconicness of is that a word, iconicness? Anyway,
yes, it is now.
It is now. In this day and age, you can just make up your own words and sign your own definitions. So, but the iconography associated, how's that, with EC Comics covers, there's a reason they're iconic.
Yes.
Right. And so to use that sort of formula to draw somebody in to make a purchase is wisdom. And you see that, like your version there of that Tales from the Crypt cover, and you know that red rim light on the side of the characters, and just the format of how they set up their covers, that is striking, and it's going to separate from other comics on the rack, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I had a couple of different doses about thinking about that. For, you know, early days when I was trying to break into the industry, and I'd go to Marvel and things like that. Later on, established in the industry, I'd go to DC, and in their bullpen areas, you would see a month's covers put up on the wall, you know, photocopies of them or printouts, and it would show you who's doing what a bunch. Then when Vincent Spencer and I were working on Zombie Proof, we would go down to St. Mark's Comics in the Village. And they had when they were in the Village back then, they had a long wall of new comics. And so we went down and looked for what we didn't see. And you know, what we used to call the Marvel Brown. You don't see that at all anymore, like Fantastic Four 48. There were DC purples you don't see anymore.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
They when everybody was doing big shot, like single figure shots, dynamic figure on a cover, little background, that kind of stuff like that. My tendency as a counter programmer is to try to go cluttered, you know, or action shot, or 1970s throwback, or whatever. When we were doing Zombie Proof, our cover for our main cover for number 2 was a Yellow Pages ad with like circled and stuff like that on the cover, because there was no bright yellow on there, and there was nothing that was text based. So I'm just a counter programmer at heart. But when it came to this, I just decided, well, sort of screw that. Let's just get great artists.
Well, your Vampire PA is going to jump off the racks for the obvious reason. And the color scheme that Snyder did on that Al Capone Vampire with the orange blue is really striking.
Was John's design, but executed by Brian Miller of Hi-Fi.
Oh, really? Brian did the coloring on that,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah, and
Brilliant.
Mort Todd colored the EC homage, and Gene Gonzalez, who was the artist, colored the Vampire PA variant.
Those are all really, really strong covers. So, I mean,
thank you. The reaction has been very gratifying in that, you know, I've had sets of covers that artists thought were really strong, or fans thought were really strong. This one seems to be both, which is like sort of fun for me as the writer editor guy.
Finally hit that sweet spot, right?
Yeah, it really, honestly.
Okay, so let me take a super chat real quick here. John with no H for $10. Thank you so much, John. Says, number 1, the story so far tier mentions issues 1 through 3, but add-ons mentions there being 4 issues. Is the 4th issue coming to the next campaign? And 2, are these issues in the Vampire PA trade paperback, or what is in that?
This is a spectacular question. If you go into the add-ons, there actually is an explanation of this. I should have moved it up in there. But here's the story. Al Capone Vampire number 1 through 3, the crowdfunded editions, are bigger books. The first 2 have backup stories in it. The third one is a full 48 pages of Al Capone. In the comic shops, there are 4 issues. They're 4 32-page issues. The only difference is number 2 has a James Nelms cover gallery. He's done a lot of covers on a lot of my different series, and of course the amazing collection of cover artists that are on the comic books, including
your very own Aaron Lopresti, and I thought you were going to Howard Chaykin,
and Mark Wheatley, and Simone Gigliomini, who did Near Death at Image.
So
and as to and John, thank you for that question. In the Vampire PA trade is the original 3-issue miniseries that Moonstone published, plus the prose short story that I had mentioned earlier. The Capone material has not been collected yet. We're looking at that later this year.
Okay, so these are all okay. So mine was newsstand only, or not?
That's correct.
Your comic shop only, right? Is that all 4 of these were all comic shop?
Those top 4 are all comic shop only. The 3 of the bottom 4 were actually on our crowdfunded editions. The number 3, however, the Nick Fury number 10 homage.
Yeah, that's with
that one. It's only in comic shops. And the reason for the Nick Fury one was that was the first comic I ever mail ordered.
Really?
Yeah. If
did it have some right down the middle?
The Marvel Superhero Holiday Grab Bag. You remember those treasury editions?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The second one, 1975, had Nick Fury number 10 in it. And I so loved that story. I had to get it. Mm-hmm. And so I mailed away Richard Alf, one of the guys involved in early San Diego Comic-Con. I got it from him. I also got a catalog, and then it drove me nuts to find out that the Atlas Seaboard stuff ended with number 4s at the most. And 13-year-old me could not possibly understand how a comic company could go out of business.
Yeah, I know they came and went so fast, but they had a lot of great cover artists, and I guess they had
Yeah, a
Rich
lot of great
Buckler doing
artists.
some stuff. That's true, because Chaykin was doing some inside stuff, and interiors.
Larry
Rich
Hama,
Buckler was doing interior. Was Hama? Okay.
Walter Simonson.
That's right. What did Walter do for them?
Walter
remember off
did.
the top of
Oh
your
my gosh, there's two stories. One was never published in the States. He and Archie Goodwin immediately post Manhunter did Samurai versus Giant Spider story in Thrilling Adventure Stories #2.
I just picked that up someplace because I had that great Neil Adams.
Single greatest black and white magazine ever.
Who else was in that? The whole it was just
Toth,
like Toth was Heath.
Like the bottom of the rung was Jack Sparling, who was totally serviceable.
Severin was in that too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Severin. There was a war story or something in there, and then you had the Simonson Goodwin samurai story.
Yeah, I think the Simonson one was the lead. I think. I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at it.
I picked that up in the last few months.
Part. I don't think I've looked at that issue in about 5 years, and I can just go off about it because I just love that issue.
Well, you know what happened? I was walking by the big art dealer in San Diego. Gosh darn it! I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway,
Bud Plant, somebody else?
No, art dealer, original art dealer.
Oh, original art dealer. Okay.
I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, they had the cover to that magazine, the Neil Adams painting, right? And I was like, what the heck is that from? And so I searched it out and found out it was, what's the name of the magazine again?
Thrilling Adventure Stories #2.
Yeah. And so I had to get it. And then when I got it and opened it up, I was like, holy crap, this is like a gold mine in here of like great stuff. So there you go. You guys.
Well,
pick it up.
I gotta say, I'm always glad to hear when somebody else gravitates to that in any however they get there.
Well, I was I don't know, are you younger than me? I can't remember now. But
maybe.
Are you a 70s kid or an 80s kid?
I am.
When did you start reading comics?
I'm a 60s kid.
When did you start reading comics?
Oh, that would be 70s.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was born in the
actually
60s.
I read comics at the barber shop and on car trips before that.
So were you aware of when Atlas Comics first started coming out in the racks?
No.
Okay.
Matter of fact,
I was.
In my 8th grade art class really wanted my Invaders #2. And he kept on throwing in comics to sweeten the deal. And I got Iron Jaw 1 and 4, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They looked like marvels that I didn't know. And that started me down the road that has defined my comic book journalism life and my comic book collecting life.
That great Neil Adams cover. And I remember the Brute too, kind of their little Hulk, caveman Hulk.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Hulk reads like Martin Goodman came in and said, "We need a Hulk."
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, don't you think that's what he did with
I will say there are perks that go with being the Atlas Seaboard obsessed president of Gemstone. And so then when I had Lee Weeks do Iron Jaw on the cover of Lost Universe.
Here, hold that up again. Yeah, I've got that. You said
it's a little shiny. The plastic's still on it.
We'll get to the Gemstone stuff in just
yeah.
Because I am crazy interested in that. Not that I'm not interested in Al Capone Vampire, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, so what else do we want to know about?
Let me tell you a little bit about the stretch goals.
Okay,
very simply, okay. I do the same thing that Billy does, which is the No Fan Left Behind campaign. We've got a Kickstarter going at the same time. Kickstarter launched 2 days earlier and has done, by my terms, very well. It's I'm mainly the Overstreet guy. The creator stuff is an outlet for me, and the great part about this is if we can just hit 2,000 on this campaign, everybody in this campaign is going to get all the stretch goals that we're already hitting on the Kickstarter.
Wow.
And the first stretch goal is the Vampires Read 2 bookmark, which is Billy Tucci art with Wes Hartman colors. And the second one, scroll down just a little.
Yep, there we go.
Look at that cover.
That is tremendous.
How
Who
can
did
you
that?
not want to read that book? Now, this is just going to be an ash can at this time.
Oh,
This is the oldest vampire story I have. I started working on this when I was in junior college, and it never clicked. And I try it every 4 or 5 years. And I sort of thought I knew where I was going a couple of times. And then I got this cover. It's Simone Gigliamini, painted by Noel Giddings, who was the mainstay colorist for Milestone back in the day.
Okay.
And when I got this painted piece, and literally Noel outputs and paints on it. And when I got that in, I knew everything about the story.
That is a killer cover. It really,
and then my usual suspect Don Guzzo did the design, and
yes.
she of course just rocks.
Yep.
So
she did the Kit Carter logo for me.
Oh, did she really?
On your
Well,
recommendation.
great.
Yes.
That's great. I didn't know that. And you know,
yep.
the great thing about it is you meet so many. I mean, you do this job long enough, not even that long really. You meet so many talented designers. But I've never met a more talented designer with a thicker skin.
See,
Don will throw me out. Like, I think she sent me 16 possible logos on
I know. She did the same thing with the Kit Carter, and I was like, my head was spinning. I'm like, just give me 3.
And
but
it really
great.
I mean, working with people like that just gets you jazzed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't see that as a blessing, yeah, that's on you. You know?
Exactly. Let me grab another super chat real quick. John with no H again for $5. Thank you, John. Are you signing all of these for free? Laugh out loud. When checking out, there's option on every book for signature, giving heads up in case you need to change that.
No, I am. I am.
I see what he's asking.
I am absolutely glad to sign them. I can be paid not to. I was thinking about doing that.
You got to pay him not to sign it. That's where you have to cost extra. Don't write on my book, JC. Jeez. Oh my gosh. So are you?
And there's one other thing, and it's sort of small here. If you go down to where right there. Nope.
Too high, too low.
But yeah, keep going up till we get to where the black and white one is. There you go.
Okay.
The book next to it.
Yes.
Bonus is right there. The second, the color book right there is the bonus book that everybody's going to get. I mean, it's literally, if this campaign funds, everybody will get this book. It doesn't have to go any extra measures. This is a 48-page cover gallery that is every cover up to this series for Vampire PA and Al Capone Vampire. And it's just exclusive to the campaigns.
Dude, you got some really nice bonuses and stretch goals on here. You're making me feel guilty. Oh, Christina has to be heading off. Well, thanks for joining us, Christina. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Indeed.
Okay, so this is going to be, what do we got here? Are you doing just 30 days? Or are you going to extend?
It's actually a little less than 30 days. It's I think we got 24 at this point. I think we started with 27 or 28. But
that's going to be it when you get there?
Yeah, you know what? Depending on the printer situation, American Mythology is going to print these. We'll see how it goes. I would really like to not have the in-demand portion of it, because I'd like to know the numbers set. But I'm one of those people who says, why would you ignore any revenue stream? And last time Indiegogo caught up to Kickstarter and actually went past it at the end, and we only were in demand for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. But that that can make a big difference. But because we're going to get ready for Captain Action versus Al Capone, it's not going to go on very long if it does.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you right now that I really intrigued me with this Captain Action thing. So
Listen, man, I'm so excited about it because like I said earlier, I was a GI Joe kid. I was not a Captain Action kid. I would have, and if you told me about Captain Action back then, I was so far into the GI Joe camp, I would have mocked you. But first, Ed Cato and Joe Ahern, got to know those guys, and then they took on a new partner, Michael Polis, with Captain Action Enterprises, and all three of them are great guys. And I'm frequently on panels with them at San Diego, and I'm sort of like I'm not a Captain Action collector, but I totally get where they're coming from. And their enthusiasm is captivating to me. Everything that they've tried to reinvigorate this character and all these things that they've done, just outstanding.
Jake Blues says, reading the Al Capone books gets me jazzed. I really enjoy the series.
That is really nice to hear. Thank you very much.
People, of course, are singing the praises of Lee Weeks, which we all do. Tremendous artist.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
Okay, you'll find the link to this campaign in the description of this very video you're watching right now. So go use that to check out Al Capone Vampire. We'll revisit this a little bit later in the show.
I can answer that. Believe it or not, Al Capone is not my only crime thing. Second Wednesday is a novel. It has a Joe Jusko cover. It is my first crime novel. It's basically set in my adopted hometown of Hearst, Texas.
Hold that up again, will you, JC, please? Where
the murder rate in Hearst is, it's skyrocketing. It's almost 3/4 of a person a year now. So not a lot of people get killed there. But so it's an unsolved murder mystery. Hearst is really very well known in police communities they have one of the highest rated police departments in the United States. And so for them to have an unsolved mystery is, it eats at them. But so the mother of the victim ends up going to a private investigator who is a former cop, and he and his partner start investigating it. And so I've sort of decided to become my adopted hometown's Jessica Fletcher. So I show up and people die.
I was going to say, if that keeps happening, you're going to be the suspect.
Yeah, and what's really great, I got a neat note from the chief of police. He dropped a little detail from the back of the book, like, my parents lived in those houses, and I'm like, okay, he read it, nice. Which is really, really nice. And if I hadn't been working on the pilot we've been doing with Roddenberry Entertainment, I would have been into the second or maybe third or maybe fourth book at this point. I really want to do more of them. They're fun. The deluxe version is limited. It was only available to the Kickstarter folks and Indiegogo back when we did it, and it has illustrations. John Snyder III. Let me see if I can find one of them real quick.
So, do you have a development deal with this?
With the pilot? Yeah. Not with this. With the pilot we've got is totally separate. No thing Mark Hansen created.
Okay.
I don't have a deal for this. I sure like to have a deal with this. This would be a great TV series, maybe TV movies. I had Mary Wilshire, who hasn't done comics in a long time. Used to do Red Sonja back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
I had John Snyder III, Ed Cato, who I just mentioned from Captain Action, Alex Saviuk, Mark Wheatley, Joe James. I'm trying to find the John Snyder illustrated Billy Tucci, as a matter of fact.
Citizen Ronan says JC and Angela Lansbury could be twins. It's uncanny.
Absolutely. People mistake us all the time. Especially when I start singing Bippity Boppity Boo.
Oh my gosh, it's good.
That's really disturbing, isn't it? No, not really. Not the song so much as me singing. So this is John's art. Let me see if I can hold that right. Not too much glare. That's one.
So basically, you got illustrations peppered throughout the novelization.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's eight of them in the deluxe edition. It's the only difference. There's some industry names in there where people bought the characters, and backed the book that way. And it was it was a lot of fun, and it was a great experience. I don't know if you know Alex Segura, who used to work at DC and Archie. Alex is a top-selling novelist now, but in his Pete Fernandez novels, his first one, I was listening to the audiobook, and I go, man, I'm going to finish that book. I had done it, I had done a draft of it and put it away, and I so loved the cadence of listening to that, and reading. I've been reading Nero Wolfe books for a long time. The two things made me go, I can finish that, and I did, and I'm basically real happy with the first one. I've done a short story based on the partner character, and the answer, Marcus, is no. I do not sleep.
I was about to ask the same question. Okay, so where do you squeeze in all this writing while you're doing all this other stuff?
My copious free time, of course.
Of course. Okay, well, that leads me into our next topic. What is going on at Gemstone, and what is going on at the Overstreet Price Guide?
All right,
something's cooking.
I gotta tell you guys some breaking news.
All right,
I'm
ready.
On Overstreet Access, if you update your app, you now have image recognition of, if you scan a cover, you take a picture of a cover, and it'll tell you what it is, or at least try to tell you what it is in Overstreet Access. And if we don't have it, it'll ask you to send it to us. And if we do, it'll take you to the listing. And you can add it to your collection.
All right, you're going to have to, because I have not been keeping up. I remember, I think the last time I had you on, we talked about some things that you had in the works and that you guys were going to be.
Yeah, we've added roughly 135,000 variants since the last time we talked about it. And that's basically, seriously, probably DC in July and August. Can
you take us through exactly what the app is?
Sure.
And what it does.
Now, I want to differentiate from the app and the desktop thing. The app will not work without the desktop thing. And it doesn't mean you have to use a desktop. It just means that's how we're set up. If what you have with Overstreet Access is Overstreet prices, collection management, and an encyclopedia. The encyclopedia version is free. So if you just go to overstreetaccess.com, you can check out all sorts of stuff, just not get prices for it.
So you guys have a program that I can go in there and
it's web resident. You don't have to download anything.
Okay. And so I can list and organize my entire collection.
Yeah.
Grade. Now what about price? Do you have automatic price updates on those?
We are updating. We are not to the point where it is routine yet. That's coming.
Okay.
We will obviously update as soon as the price guide comes out, but it's going to be more frequent than that. It's not going to be an annual thing anymore. So we're gonna track. There's certain things. Yeah, listen, there's certain comics that aren't going to change price in the course of a year. You know, they're just not. Seriously, I buy every set of Nathaniel Dusk Private Investigator I find. Why? Because I'm out of control. But it's not because of monetary value.
Right.
You know, but Action Comics #1, we can say that's newsworthy. Captain America Comics #1, any of those guys, you know. But there's plenty of things in between those two extremes that do change in price, and we're going to be tracking that. Also, you know, quite frankly, we knew in the physical world that we could never fit all of those variants in the price guide. You know, it would be 37 volumes and it would be unaffordable to produce or to purchase. And
you could do a price guide just of variants.
Yeah, well, no, we couldn't even. Like literally, I'll give you an example. We entered one title. Matter of fact, my cohort, Sean Simple, might be doing it right now. That was 30 issues and 309 different covers.
Just for 30 issues.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And listen, I understand people are, both publishers and retailers are doing what they can to survive. I'm not grousing about it. I'm just saying they're not all fitted in the physical price guide, and I don't feel bad about that. You know, if you find one that breaks out, and the regular cover price is $3.99, and this one's selling for $50, of course I want that in the guide.
Mm.
But
all
if
the
you
yeah,
have
there's
if you've got
a lot of
27 other
arbitrary-
variants that are the same price, we'll just put variants exist.
Okay.
But that doesn't help you when you're keeping track of your collection, because maybe you love, pick the title, and you want all the variants of that first issue. Maybe you're not even a comic book guy, but you want all the Godzilla comics. Well, remember IDW's Godzilla #1, how many store variants there were? There's a gazillion, right? So if you were using Overstreet Access, you would want all of them to be available to you. Well, maybe we don't have some of them. You take a picture of it and say, oh, I found these 20, but you didn't have this one. Click, send it to you. Research this, please. And we're on it. And you know what? That's the way the guide was built too. Look at the difference between Price Guide 1 and Price Guide 6. It's a huge, thicker book.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like there was that many comics published between 70 and 76.
Are you guys moving away from publishing the physical books and the long-term goal?
That's a great question. No way. One of the things that's going to happen, now this is my belief, we'll respond to we will respond to what the economy provides us. But my belief is we will sell more print. It'll just be a bunch of different books. We will always, the main guide, that's been our bread and butter. We're not going to do anything to damage that. I have to think we'll sell a few less of that. Eventually, but I don't know that. But we're also, I'll tell you right now, we've got next fall, the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide to War Comics. And that'll be like the Lost Universe book. Everything in it will be pictured.
Interesting. Nice. Yeah, I do like the extra, how should we say, books that you guys are doing that sort of augment the price guide, like you said, the Lost Universes, things like that. I find those things very interesting. And there isn't really anybody out there consistently publishing, I don't want to say the history of comics, but sort of guides to the tributaries off mainstream comics and different things.
On the history of comics, I think Tomorrow's does an excellent job and point some of the books that Michael Urey and John Cook do. I'm sort of seething with envy. Matter of fact, I so love the Charlton book that I got John to write an abridged overview of Charlton for this year's guide. It just because his book was so phenomenal. I thought, can you do this more concise? And seriously, they do wonderful stuff, but that isn't a guidebook of how to.
Right.
And there's not a lot of other people out there doing what we're doing.
Right. And I think there's a spot in the collector's market for it. I guess it's more encyclopedic than it is historical, right? I mean, how would you describe the Lost Universe book or some of these other?
The Lost Universes book to me, and I, really, man, as a passion project for me, I did basically 5.5 months of 16-hour days plus 8-hour Saturdays, because unlike normally, Don, working with Don and then my our editor for print, Mark Huseman, I normally trust either of them design-wise, and just I give them general guidance and then go, and I might noodle with something they do, but they're such great designers that I don't ever do it. I was obsessive about this book because I saw the whole thing in my head. Mm-hmm. And I think part of I'm trying to see if I have an open one here. I don't, which is really weird. But I can open that. But the whole thing about it to me was that if we're going to showcase these comics in a different way than the guide and still use the heritage of the guide, well, the first thing I want to do is also use the photo journal, which is if you're doing, let's say, okay, no kidding, did not plan this, open to Malibu, Ultraverse.
Oh, I got it.
And you know what's great? I got notes after this book. I missed some books. So when we do an update to this version, we'll update that. But I got all the new universe, got all the milestone, the original milestone, all the original Valiant. But then we did some deep dives. Like we had profiles of like the first 12 issues of Static, which I think were among the finest superhero book on the stands at the time. We went in and talked to people who collect New Universe, right? Because somebody does. And we went to some esoteric comic companies. We went to some high end, like Golden Age MLJ Archie superheroes. And so we had deeper dives on those. There is a focus that we don't have in the guide. Each of the sections opens with an original page of comic art, because none of this happens without the comic art. And we got to recognize there's people that collect those things. And so the whole thing to me is I want this to be engaging in the way, and nobody's going to get engaged about Defiant the way I'm going to. Okay? But the truth is that if you go to the Facebook page for the New Universe group, you'd have no idea that it was a failed universe. These guys are passionate, man.
Well, yeah, I find that with the Malibu stuff every year when we do the annual sort of panel at San Diego.
And man, look at the crowd we had in there for the 25th anniversary panel.
Yeah,
that room was packed.
Yeah,
and it's not like the Ultraverse lasted that long. It was real core and real pivotal to you as an artist, to me as a fan breaking in. It was incredibly important, and also to the friends that we've formed and kept to this day, right? But the great part about it, to me, is that when you reach out and you find something that restores that commonality of experience to us. When I always say this, when I was a kid in 4th grade, ABC re-showed the original pilot for the Night Stalker. The next day, every boy and almost all the girls were talking about it. Mm. When my friend Ming was on ER, and it was a top 10 perennial show, top 5 usually, maybe 1 in 20 people in a room with me would have seen it, because there's so many channels. We look for these things that can restore the commonality of experience. The internet does some of that because you find the people who gravitate to what you like the Malibu Ultraverse page on Facebook. But also, you get a book like this and you realize there's somebody else that collects what you like. And that gives you a spark. And also, I had also this thing, part of it was during COVID, and the high-end prices were going so flipping crazy. I was very concerned that some potential lifers would get shut out and feel discouraged and leave comics. And I wanted to show them stuff you could get finite sets of.
That's an interesting take on it too, because it was a strangely enough, for a lot of reasons, the whole COVID stuff was discouraging in a lot of ways, but I expected the market to plummet. It did just the opposite. And I was getting priced out of stuff that I wanted to get. But I never thought of the angle that you said, that they're, introduce people to stuff that's out there that maybe they didn't know about, that they can get into without breaking the bank.
Yeah. And even some of it was a little bit crazy. I don't mean anything like Marvel Silver Age or anything else like that. But I'll give you an example. When the lockdown started here in New York, we knew that it was going to start on Monday. So Saturday, I went to like my 4th or 5th tier emergency backup comic shop, and they were having a sale. And I bought, 20, maybe 30 issues of Hardware and other milestone books. Mm-hmm. And I went back the next day and cleaned them out. I had started with 17. I had Static 1 through 13. I had Milestone Forever, which are the last 2 books in the series that came out years later. And I had Static Shock Rebirth of the Cool, which was the 4-issue miniseries from 2001. And the day, sort of as COVID was winding along, I started mail ordering or internet ordering from mycomicshop.com, from my sister company Diamond Galleries, and a handful on eBay. And my last milestone issue came in the day that Jim Lee talked to the Hollywood Reporter about Milestone coming back. And it was so fun to put that together that between that and the Defiant fanzine that I had been involved in, that was the focusing that became that book. But the last issue, like my average price was like $2 to $4 on most of these books for like 9.4s and up. I mean, ungraded, uncertified, I should say.
Sure.
But like the last issue of Static, combination of it being the last issue and a really, really cool Mobius cover, it was like $90, $96 or something like that. And by the time I was finishing these things, the last issue I got was the last issue of Icon, and it was up there. It was up there price wise too, and you could see that even as I was finishing off those series, and I'm not in any way denigrating the value story wise or the creative work.
Sure.
But it really was phenomenal to finish something in the face of all these prices. Like, yeah, I'm never getting that issue. I could never afford that.
Right.
You know?
No, I think they're fantastic resources, and I love that you guys are branching out and doing those different books. On the getting back to the app, the online stuff.
Yeah, sorry.
So what is a monthly subscription cost?
That's a great question. All right. There are monthlies for for bronze, silver, and gold. And you can start in the, you know what?
Wait a minute. Hang on.
If you have an Overstreet 53.
No, hang on a second. So but let's say I want to get the organizer for my collection.
Yeah.
Is that is there a whole package deal, or is it each one of these you buying a separate service?
No, it's just different tier. It's just different tiers.
Okay.
And listen, in all seriousness, if you have an Overstreet 53 and you look between pages 64 and 65.
Oh my gosh. All I have is 52. I wonder why I stopped getting them after this one. No, I'm kidding. 53. What are the cover? I gotta have a 53.
I got the Dan Lawless cover right here.
Maybe I've got that. Was that sold out? That might have been sold out. What did I know I've got one around here someplace.
You should have you definitely have one.
I'm just so addicted to my cover that I'm kidding.
Well, and why would you not be? But we had the Avengers 3 cover by Kevin Nolan.
That's the one I've got. Where is it though? It's around here someplace. All right, so I'm going to we'll pretend I have it in my hand. You have yours.
So if you there's a 4-page insert between pages 64 and 65.
Okay.
And it starts with a page that looks like this.
Hang on.
And if you turn the page, right there is a coupon code.
Okay.
And that will get you the bronze membership free or $30 off the annuals on the other two.
Okay, so just so I understand what you're saying, when you say gold and silver,
let me hit you with this.
Okay.
Okay. Bronze membership is $30 for a year, which would be 2 free months or $3 a month. Silver membership is $5 a month or 60 or 50 for the year. Again, 2 months free. Gold is $9 a month or 90 for the year. That code in the book will get you $30 off any of those. So the bronze would be free, and the others would be reduced price for the annual.
See, I was thinking you were saying that you had like separate, if you wanted Bronze Age books, you had to do this, but those are just the names of
no, that's probably confusion on my part. So thank you. So I'm gonna the two I will shill for here will be the silver and gold. The bronze does not come with collection management. It's just the prices and the encyclopedia version of it. All right.
Okay.
But you can in the silver, you can have up to 5,000 comics. In the gold, you can have an infinite number of comics in up to 5 collections. Like, say you wanted to put together a comic collection for, I don't know, a newly arrived grandson. And that you could say, here's the kid's collection, and it would be separate from your other boxes. Or you could have ones like I've got a box that's called, I've got a collection that's called Lost Universes.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're organized in a certain way in my storage unit.
Right. Okay.
I have a collection that's called File Copies, which is one of everything I've worked on. So I've got different ones for that. It really is absolutely phenomenal. There's things that we're still working on. Overstreet prices, we tend to stop around 9.2 because everything else has been so volatile. We'll be addressing that. We haven't addressed it yet, but there's already places in there for us to do this. The system's already set up for it.
Okay. John says, back to the all-in tier. Everyone go buy a copy so I get that stretch goal book.
John, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And everybody else we've had a couple people get in during the show too. So
Locus Mortis says, can you talk about the Lost Universes books? I think we were just doing that, so we probably answered most of your questions there.
Well, can we show that? Shall we show the covers for the second one, volume 2 coming up?
Oh, where do you got it?
I sent it. I actually sent them to you ahead of the show. Maybe you didn't get them.
Well, we just got back right before the.
Well, that's it. I apologize for not checking earlier.
Baby, 2 more bits of information. Overstreet Access. Is that it?
No, I sent you a WeTransfer with a crap load of art.
Nothing like running a tight ship, is there?
Yeah, absolutely. Apex Comics says Dan Lawless covers do sell out. Well, I got to tell you, it was such a kick to catch him at the right time, because he really wanted to do Death Dealer, and it was sort of like one of those things that was totally fated to happen. I had worked with Dan on the Retro Mariner story for Scott Braden, and we sort of got along great, and I just got this idea of doing that, and boom, it happened really, really quick. And Sarah Frazetta and the Frazetta Girls folks were great to work with.
Yeah, I need to get her on this show, talk to her about all the stuff she's doing.
Yeah, they're launching some new books too.
Oh my gosh, you sent me all this stuff we've been talking about, and I just now figured it out. Okay, what did you want me to bring up? I've got Lady Death.
Lost Universes. There should be 3 covers there for that.
Yep. Okay. Let's bring up this. Is that Tim Truman?
It would be if it's Scout. Look at that. And one of the great things about doing Lost Universes is you look at something like Eclipse Comics. Eclipse Comics, it was the prototypical non-universe, except at Eclipse, Tim had his own little mini universe. He had Scout, he had New America, and he had Swords of Texas. And of course they had a follow-on Scout series, and it looks like he's coming down the stretch now on the long-awaited Scout graphic novel.
Now this is interesting because when you talk about Lost Universes, I never really thought about a lot of stuff that was going on in the 80s with Eclipse and Kamiko and different series, like American Flag, First Comics, things like that. And that would all sort of fit into that umbrella, under that umbrella, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I say First Comics is a non-universe, but they had a vehicle to be a universe in Grimjack with the city of Sinishore. The people could go through there. That's how they did the Crossroads miniseries. Now, to me, Lady Death is one of the great examples of a universe that has come and gone and come again.
Right.
1990s mainstay with Chaos Comics. And then Brian loses control of the character, gets the character back, creates Coffin Comics, and they're a crowdfunding dynamo among the most loyal audiences you will ever find in comics. I am fairly convinced that if Brian were to publish comic stories on, like, say, refrigerators, that he would have fans that would buy them because they are hardcore.
Yeah, that really is remarkable, because I remember we were doing some Lady Death through CrossGen when I was there, and it was sort of kind of, nobody really cared that much, and then it's exploded again.
Yeah, one of the things about it was when Chaos Comics went down, I think that took some of the thunder with it.
Sure.
That's sort of like I alluded to with my first experience with Atlas Seaboard, is when you're really into it, like, how could this end?
Yeah.
And that trips you up for a while. And then, you wait a little while and you realize, like me with Atlas Seaboard, I still love the crap no matter what. And with Lady Death, the fans were, it's not like they sold off their collections. They just weren't, there wasn't anything to get super enthusiastic about there for a while. One of the things about it, I love that cover because it's real 90s style.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk a little bit more about Lady Death in another minute, but can you show the Spider-Man 2099 one?
Yep.
This will be the main cover. This will be the one that's available in the bookstores as well as the comic shops. And that is Butch Geist on Spider-Man 2099, colored by Brian Miller at Hi-Fi.
So this is also interesting to me, because you're basically treating a Marvel universe, though, as a sub universe. Absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the things about Lost Universe is, just like the best example is the MLJ Archie superheroes, who've come back, like, I think 8 different times. Over 80 years.
I pitched them a Hangman series. We almost did it, but then Rob was doing and
that fell apart.
That fell apart, and then they were kind of like soured on all the superheroes.
Yeah, that's such a shame. And I understand economics and understand personalities and everything else like that, but the version of the Black Hood. Well, there's 2 versions of Black Hood that I think are just really outstanding. First, the most recent one, it's just a great gritty crime thing. It's just really phenomenal. As a matter of fact, I mentioned Alex Segura before. He was the editor on those. Mm-hmm. And I think there's 3 trade paperbacks of, and I can't recommend them highly enough. The one that I really wish there was a collected print edition of was Mark Wheatley and Rick Burchett's Impact Line version of, and like, to me, their version of it is an instant TV show. You need, I have the idea of one character to add, and in my pompous, I know what to do. But they like the character Jack McGee on the Incredible Hulk TV show, the dogged reporter, chasing down the story. But good golly, that stuff was great. And I came to it after the Impact Line was gone. I didn't have the bandwidth or budget to add another line of comics when they were coming out originally, but I fell in love with it, and then got to be friends with Mark Wheatley, and I've even worked with Rick Burchett on a cover. But it's just so cool. So I love their heroes, and I wish that they would take. I know Archie's not a huge company. I just wish that they would grow that into a thing, because some of their stuff is so good.
Well, was that what they were trying to do, like those things more realistic or more? Is that what you're talking about?
No. The Impact Line, the later one, the more recent one, the Dark Circle one, absolutely was a grittier crime. It was a grittier crime stuff. The Impact Line was DC publishing them.
Oh, that's right. Well, you're talking about back in the late 80s. Because David Williams worked on Jaguar, or not Jaguar, something in that Impact Line. I can't remember what it was called now, but yeah, I remember that now. Sure. But I was thinking, because I know they, like you said, they've had several reincarnations of that superhero line in different ways, and it looked like, a couple of years ago they were going to, launch that with the Rob Liefeld project, and when that fell apart, they just kind of abandoned the whole thing.
Yeah, and what was really interesting is in the lineup, in that there's a panel in that book. It is the 80s Black Hood. I'm convinced of it. And if it's not, it's sure the look of it. So it would have been great.
I had a great pitch, man. I was ready to rock and roll with that thing, but there it sits. Maybe someday. You never know.
I've got. Mark and I have a great Planet of Vampires at Atlas Seaboard, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Planet of Vampires. I remember those. I don't know how many people do besides you and me, but
it's a great concept, and it's they've sold part interest in the company to Hollywood folks, and the great thing that they have in their corner is they don't have a gazillion years of continuity to worry about.
Right, exactly. So they may need some new stuff. Larry's Library says, big fan of Lopresti art and a longtime collector of the Overstreet Price guides. Awesome stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
that.
We
since we're talking price guides and you've got a hint of it right there, can we skip to the main guide?
Well, which version would you like to skip to?
Well, why don't we start with the big Overstreet number 54?
I'm so happy to be associated with this because I'm finding that reading small print is not as easy as it used to be. This may be my go-to price guide going forward in my 60s.
There's a joke I usually use about the big, and it started because Steve Jeppy needed bigger print. It continues because I needed bigger print.
Well, and it's a and it's got the spiral spine, right? Or no. This is
no longer
square
because
bound?
I was tired of them falling over on the shelf.
Okay. So we're going square bound?
They're all square bound now. I have one guy who hated that so much, he buys one and cuts off the spine and has it spiral bound at his local print shop. By the way, I totally get that. Though I will tell you, we designed this book. This is this year's, and with a great David Michael Beck cover. Come on, this sits pretty flat.
Yeah, I mean a page is that big, and no, I love it because I seriously, man, I cannot. I have glasses like these are my close-up glasses, but when I'm walking around the con or something, I got my regular driving glasses on. But then you get someone flip open a price guide and like I can't even read this, and it's like
the great part about this is now you can use your phone.
I don't know if I still need help just for the simple basics of calling people.
But you know what? Repetitive motion teaches even us old guys. This will be Apex Comics here says Planet of Vampires #1 with Pat Broderick. I think, man, there's some great stuff in there. It was one of those, I think at this point we can call most of the Atlas Seaboard titles sleepers. It's one of the great ones.
One of the great ones, folks.
So yeah, okay. So we're doing Golden Age, and I stress public domain, Phantom Girl,
right?
Phantom Lady, rather,
right?
And I think that this is a freaking phenomenal cover.
Thank you.
I love your colors on it, and it is. I think it's as intriguing as all get out, and I think people are going to love it. One of the things we've started doing is if you look at, some of the part of the Overstreet cover reveal is always. We always like to have a little bit of sensation about it, but also I love showing that we're already thinking about the next year. So on the back cover of this edition, you see the ad for next year's.
Right. And I remember you telling me that when it came out last year, saying, oh yeah, it's because I was like, when can I show this? When can I show this? You're like, oh, wait. And then it was on the back cover of last year's. So yeah, I'm obviously, I've told you this 100 times that I've been a collector since I was 10 years old of comics, and the price guide was always the thing, man. Couldn't wait for the new price guide to come out and actually be able to contribute. This is a bucket list item for me, is to do price guide covers. And I've now got to do 3 in the past few years. And I'm just eternally grateful to you for allowing me the opportunity.
I gotta say, we've had some fun with it. One of the great things is that your EC cover was also the 100th anniversary of Bill Gaines' birth, and I viewed that when I tossed you the idea that I really wanted that in there, I didn't know how you'd handle it, and I knew that it had to be something creative, and you just nailed it. And everybody just loved that book. It was just, and Bob Overstreet, I'm sure I've said this before, somebody would have done a price guide, but the reason there's an Overstreet comic book price guide is because Bob was an EC collector as a kid, and he's still an EC collector.
And I can afford him. I am.
And
I can afford him. I am.
and it's just it's an outstanding tribute, and that's what the guide should be. And a little bit about what you said about it being a bucket list, dude. Those are the guys I want for the cover. You look at who I've been able to work with. It's a who's who of the top guys in the industry, and it always comes down to, you know what? There's a little bit of arrogance here, and I accept that. But when Bob Overstreet did, he starts the art covers with number 4 with Don Newton. Don Newton at that point was not Don Newton, the great Batman artist yet. But in immediate succession, 5, 6, and 7, Kubert, Eisner, Barks. That's the gauntlet that's been thrown down for me as the guy who recruits most of the covers.
Was Kubert Hawkman cover? Was that the first art cover?
The JSA was.
Oh, that's right. The JSA was.
4. JSA on number 4 is the first art cover. The 2 and 3 had the comic book covers.
Right.
One had all the logos of the comic publishers.
Right.
Which were, by the way, hand drawn by Bob Overstreet.
What a pain in the butt.
And then, of course, the other thing we talk about on number 52 is the first ever exclusive edition for the Overstreet Advisors.
And I got to do that too.
And that was that was Area 52, and that was delayed by COVID, of course. It would have been Area 51. And it really there's a nice aftermarket value on that for anybody stupid enough to sell it short term.
I got a couple copies in here.
Well, you could sell them. You had more than one.
I know. I'm holding on to it for one.
It was really well received. So that's cool. And now to have you on the big. So there you go. The trifecta.
I'm telling you. Now, okay. So, okay, here we go. So we got a Lady Death cover. So a lot of these are
Lady Death 30th anniversary. Now this is modern Lady Death.
Yes.
And I
think same old Lady Death to me.
Yeah, it's really, to me, I'm really excited about telling this story of an indie character, not just one, but an indie character that has survived for 30 years. We've seen a lot of DC and Marvel characters come and go in that time without making a ripple. And to have a indie character that is not without ups and downs, but that has survived that long and has a strong following, that's pretty freaking amazing. And it also makes us realize when we're talking 30 years ago, we're not talking about the 80s, we're talking about the 90s.
Yeah, don't remind me. I started thinking, I started reading comics in the 70s. That was 50 years ago. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No, it is remarkable because for much of the span of comics have been just completely owned by the icons of the big two.
Yeah.
But you can put a Lady Death on this cover and everybody knows who it is.
Yeah. Whether they collect Lady Death or not, there's nobody that's going to go, who's that?
Right. Exactly. Right. And if they don't know who it is, they want to know who it is. So.
Yeah, sure. All right. Let's go to the next one.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is
Billy.
Another 30th anniversary. And that's She by Billy Tucci.
Look at the color. Beautiful.
And I talk a lot about how I was 3 rows away and saw it on the upper level of a rack at my comic shop 3 rows away, and did the exact job that a comic cover is supposed to do. It made me cross the room and pick it up and read and go, oh yeah, I'm getting that. And that was, and I've been fortunate. The first big comic I ever wrote was She a Kind #1. And I've co-plotted with Billy. I've written with Billy. I've written, he's drawn, and I've edited, like the Return of the Warrior stuff that he's been doing. And now I'm co-writing She Gatecrasher with him. And you know what? Being my friend doesn't get you on the cover of the guide. You got to have the recognition for it. You got to have the credibility. You got to have the chops. And the great thing is I can click off all those boxes. And the other thing is, you mentioned, you got to take the guide seriously. This is the arrogance. I started to say this a minute ago. I'm not chasing anybody for this cover. I will ask people if they want to do it. If they say yes, I'll make every effort to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't want to do it, I'm not chasing them, because you know what? Look at who I've had.
Yeah.
Okay. The weirdest thing to me is that I can say, yeah, I commissioned a cover from Joe Simon. I had an unpublished Joe Shuster cover. I commissioned 5 covers from Alex Ross. I've worked with Joe Jusko. And Mark Chiarello and Walter Simonson, Howard
These are big deals.
Ryan Sook.
The comic book price guide is as much a mainstay in comic collecting as any book. And it's like, yeah, it should be. I mean, you have every right to look and say, like you say, you shouldn't have to chase someone to do this job. You should be get people that are thrilled to be working on it, and you're going to get the best stuff. And I think you handled it really, really well. I mean, I
got to say, I was
a lot of great covers on this
the
book.
day I met Mark Chiarello. It's one of my favorite conversations with a prospective guide cover artist ever. While we're waiting in his doorway, he's on the phone with somebody. He's the art director at DC at that point, and he has a Sharpie, and he's designing just real quick covers. And it's either 2 or 3 covers while he's on the phone with somebody else, while we're waiting to talk to him. And he's having a conversation not related to these covers that he's designing. He's just whipping them out. And then I get introduced to him. He goes, "Oh, I'd cut off my foot to do an Overstreet cover." And I go, I'm not great at this negotiating thing, but you should probably tell me that after. One of my favorite moments. Of course, he's a great guy, and geez, what a talented guy. And oh boy.
Uh-oh. We open up a can of worms here?
There is no Hero Initiative cover for 54.
There isn't.
No.
Is there a story behind that, or
50? No, it's just, we think maybe it's reached the end of its life cycle. I'm real unhappy about that, but that's how that's going to go for now.
So we've seen last year would have been the last one then.
Yeah, and John Tyler Christopher Red Sonja might be a great way to go out. So okay, it's not like.
Do you have a set number every year? Does it change? You say we're doing 3 covers.
Yeah. Every year I say we're only doing 2. Every year. I
so it's what you're saying is it's flexible. It's always 2 covers and then whatever else.
Or impulse control. What else? Whatever you want to call it. Aaron, can we show that? Can we show the 2 together?
Yes, absolutely.
Because this is the other punchline to the 30th anniversary of Lady Death and She, and that is that Billy did both covers, and we did them so that if you set them next to each other, they would form one image.
Ah, look at that.
And a part of that is that, hey, I want to sell the book. And part of that is that Brian and Billy have been such great friends for all these years. And literally, Brian gave Billy his first work, a pinup, coming away from San Diego in 93.
Well, see, by letting Billy do this connected cover now, and now he can one up me. You understand that, right, Jax? I'm just throwing that out there.
So we'll have to keep that in mind if I ever can crack Marvel to let us do Ultraverse characters.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I do ask. I got Alex Saviuk to do New Universe on Volume 1.
Well, yeah, but they're not as, the problems associated, obviously, that aren't associated with the New Universe.
I have read multiple times Tom Mason answer that on the Facebook page.
Well, weren't you? I don't know. Were you here when maybe you weren't, when I had Dave Ulbrich on? It was a while ago, and talked about that in quite a bit of detail. And then, of course, there's this stuff that can't be mentioned on air that we've talked about privately.
My favorite mistake, and I'm sure that's what they're sticking with in terms of their story, is the fact that there's a rune HeroClix.
Is there really?
Yep.
My son used to play that. I don't remember that.
Yep.
Wow.
And there's no mention of the Ultraverse on it, on the box. But it's rune, and it made
they must have had to pay very
extremely happy for about 13 seconds.
Oh gosh. I'll tell you, there's nothing more exciting than to have some character designed. And I haven't designed a lot of how should we say, high profile characters from Marvel or DC, but when they show up, like Tachyon or something like that as a HeroClix, it's like, yes, I can. That's
pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. It doesn't happen very often with me, unfortunately. I'm probably the only guy in comics that have designed as many characters as anybody else, but they're all the ones nobody cares about. So they never get any extra run. It's sad.
I get that. I get that. Well, somebody's got to be that guy.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm that guy.
So I will say that next month I will announce at least 2 more covers. One a second cover on Big, and I will say no more about that one. And one on the one for the main edition. Well, and it's going to be fun.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Now, this is a business question, so yes. I don't know, maybe but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yeah.
So we know there's a financial aspect to doing multiple covers, right? You're hoping to get more sales, but how much of this is just you want to get more sales, or, oh, this guy said he could do a cover and I don't care, we're doing one because I want him on the cover?
The great part about this is I do have to balance those things. First and foremost, I'm not looking to strip mine anybody. There are several hundred guide collectors. I'm not looking to make things tough on them. It might be 1,000 guide collectors. I don't know. We've had a number one sell for $36,000. So, but when I look at the main editions of the guide, and I can tell you when I know what's going to be in the bookstore for the price guide,
mm-hmm.
I am purely thinking what sells this book to the biggest possible audience.
Right.
And it is not about my taste. If it was about my taste, we would have had 36 Nexus covers by now.
Well, if you had the dude on the cover, that's not a bad choice, though.
I have asked. I think he's probably swamped with his Kickstarter. But quite honestly, I would have a Nexus cover in a heartbeat.
Well, I think people don't maybe people do now, but it's so commonplace. But there's 2 ways to do multiple covers. One, you do them as incentives, which sort of sticks it to the buyer, or you just give people a choice. I really appreciate that, because there have been covers in the past I wasn't thrilled with, but then when you guys started doing multiple covers, I was like, oh, I like that one.
Yeah, I think that's my main approach. Like I said, I don't want to strip mine the guys who are the collectors for this, but my job is sell this to the widest possible audience. And keep them coming back for more.
Right.
Okay, when I actually took over the day-to-day, you're talking price guide 40. So my first covers, call it number 40, were Darwin doing Captain America,
Mm-hmm.
Chiarello doing Batman,
That's the one I got, was that's
and the
orange and
Hero
blue.
Initiative was JR doing a recreation of Conan #1 for Conan's 40th anniversary in comics.
Oh yeah, I remember that too.
And so I felt pretty good as the guy coming up to bat for the first time by himself, without a safety net. If I'm mixing metaphors there like crazy. But
It's a good starting lineup.
And I yeah, just a little. And the Darwin's hardcover sold out 5 days before it came out. I that was a great feeling, man.
No bad.
And I really seriously just want to get as many people to look at this book, because I run a book I grew up reading. That's my job. That's freaking great. Come on, who gets to see that?
Yeah, exactly.
And yet I want to make sure that it's there for the next generation. And like I said, I know some of it will be online, but I also think that these specialty books and our ability down the road, the stuff we've got planned is just gonna blow people's minds. And I think it's gonna, like I said, I think we're gonna sell more print. We're just gonna have to be really clever to do it.
Is the challenge now, and this is something that we've talked about privately, and but when it's getting more and more difficult to get permission and rights to use certain characters,
Sure.
Let's just say it for Marvel and DC, generally speaking, do you find it more difficult to throw together concepts and find artists that are interested in doing those concepts when they can't necessarily do the Fantastic Four? Or they can't necessarily do, like when we did the Phantom Lady one, it was like, Aaron, find something that's public domain that we can, use without all the hassles and stuff. And then we went through the different ones that were available and things like that. Is it more difficult when you have to deal with that in terms of not just finding the character, but also finding an artist that's interested in doing that character?
My usual approach is, unless I know I want this character because they've got a movie coming out this year, it's a big anniversary for that character, something about it, right? The first appearances skyrocketed in value. Lots of collectors are talking about it. Any number of reasons that I might be motivated to do that character. That's not the usual path I take. The usual path is, I'd really like to work with that guy. I wonder what he collects.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a character artist that had, I won't say who yet, but I was stunned when he told me something totally mainstream that he wanted to do. And I went back to him and I said, okay, what do you think about doing a reinterpretation of that in your style? And he goes, yeah, okay. And I said, okay, I'll go to Marvel and I'll see. And if it happens, it may be really funky, but I love the idea. So, okay, that's great. I try to go with, something either the artist is already known for or something they've always wanted to do. And I know it's just like the bucket list thing. I know I'm going to get their best work because they've always wanted to do this thing.
Have you, and forgive me, I should know this, but I'm drawing a blank thinking about it. Have you done a Rocketeer cover?
Nope.
Is that a viable thing, or do you think it's not big enough, or is there other issues involved, or is it just something you haven't got around to?
I did actually reach out a couple of times to Scott Dunbier. And we had dinner with Dave's sister last year, and I'm not at all above exploiting that. The problem for me with that, and it's a small problem that science can overcome, I'm sure, but I want Dave to draw it.
Yeah, that's
the problem for
Yeah.
Rocketeer is I mean, good golly, I've bought that in every format they've published it in,
Yeah, me too.
and it can put it out, and I'm just giddy every time I get it.
Yep.
And there have been some great stuff. Alex Ross's covers for the miniseries that he did the 4 covers for
Mm-hmm.
were among the best work he's done in years, and I think it's passion, and it's not like he's some slouch, but I think that they were freaking awesome. So it's not that I couldn't see somebody else doing it. It might be that I don't want to. I don't
Right.
know.
No, I get you.
I thought, Billy had asked me about it at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's not a horrible match, and he did a Rocketeer story in the Ukraine benefit book.
Right.
And it's glorious. And typical Billy, it involved it. He meshed the real world into it in a World War II story. But there's a lot of guys out there that could do it. That if I find the right thing where somebody shows me and I see, and probably it's got to be is I got to see a sketch, and then I'll go, oh yeah, that guy can do it. And I mean, I've seen I sort of went that direction with a Sean Chen sketch. I saw him do a Rocketeer. It was just gorgeous. I'm willing to bet you could do it. I always tempted with Kaluta.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Adam Hughes would probably do
it. And the great thing is, I don't think that would be unless I got the cover of my Dreams on the Rocketeer Dreams, not including Dave doing it. Though if somebody's got an unpublished Dave Rocketeer, I'm open. It wouldn't be the main cover. And when it's not the main cover, which means not the bookstore cover, I got a lot more leeway.
True. That's right. Because so you have one copy that goes to the bookstores,
and that has to be mainstream accessible. A certain percentage of people who buy the guide are buying it for the first time.
And so the rest of the books then are just through your website or comic book shops or
comic shops. We do have a website, and we do serve customers on a regular basis, particularly people who are not near comic shops. We don't do free shipping. We don't, we're not competing with the comic shops. We are a service that is out there.
Right.
So the bulk of our sales, overwhelming bulk, is of the other editions are exclusively through comic shops.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, I'd never really thought about that in terms of having a, one of those but it makes sense. You can't release all 5 covers through the bookstores. You have to pick one that's going to, and there's marketing strategies behind each thing.
And it literally is, like I said, if we know that a comic has experienced some kind of resurgence or surgence for if it's the first time, and that it's sustained, it doesn't mean that there has to be a movie. It doesn't mean there has to be a TV show or a cartoon or anything else like that. But identifiable by the mainstream is going to be a thing. Like, for instance, a few years ago, I really, really, really wanted to do a ROM Space Knight cover. That was never going to be the main cover.
Right.
But it was going to be a great cover.
Well, yeah. And through the comic market, that would be a pretty popular cover.
It would have been it was actually about 3 years or 5 years before it would have been popular. I mistimed that one.
You were ahead of the curve.
It's just sort of like when my friends Jim Corrick and Mark Haynes and I were publishing Battlestar Galactica in 2000, about 4 years before it would have been really cool.
Yeah, timing's everything, right?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of timing, we are over time, but I want to go back and take a look at your Al Capone here campaign here before we head out the door. Let's got something going on
Look
there.
at that. We are
Got a couple of people.
$60 shy of the funding mark, man.
There we are, man. Look at that right there, guys. $60, and suddenly all that extra stuff. Let's go over this again. Let's go over this again. And what's in this zero issue
All
again?
right, so we got three stories. We got the Al Capone story, which ties one of the detective characters that is chasing Capone back to his great grandfather in the days of Prohibition, and Capone and why he might really have a beef with Capone. And then the second story, it's just a short one. It is the exclusive preview of Captain Action versus Al Capone Vampire, which is coming this summer. And then the third story is the first meeting of Dean and Jocelyn, the main vampire hunter and vampire queen from Vampire PA. And it was only ever done in a prose short story before. And I'm real excited about it because every page I got from the guys on that was better than the previous page. And it was great to start with. So that story just rocks. I'm real happy with it.
And great
And so you got three covers. You got John K. Snyder III. You've got Brendan and Brian Frame, the interior artists, doing the EC homage, and then Gene Gonzalez doing the Vampire PA cover. You also have the Indiegogo exclusive, which is the black and white version of John Snyder's cover. That's exclusive to Indiegogo. And then the bonus book that everybody will get. Well, like if we hit that $1,000 goal, everybody will get this. It is a 48-page cover gallery of all the covers from the original Vampire PA miniseries to the just completed comic shop Al Capone 1 through 4.
And look at that, folks. Right now we are $60 away from that is all. So
it's pretty great.
If you haven't backed, get in there and do it.
And then the goal on this $17.50, very doable in the next couple of weeks.
Sure.
It will be the Vampires Read 2 bookmark with art by Billy Tucci. And then right here you see the stretch goal and it says $3,000, but here's the news. Because Kickstarter's outstripping this at the moment, all we have to do is hit 2,000, and then I'll combine the totals, and everybody's getting everything.
Oh, look at that! You're knocking at the door. Look at this. You get almost as much free stuff as you get the book.
It is, and we've got some great add-ons. We've got. I am going to go in. Somebody had requested this, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to go in and put the individual covers for the current campaign on there, because there are a few sets that you can get. Like if you get one that's called the story so far, that's one of the choices. It's one of everything that we've done so far. I'm going to put on the ability to get the other covers from the current Al Capone Vampire #0 on there. We also have the trade paperbacks of the original Vampire PA trade paperback with this great Mark Wheatley cover. And we've got the Billy Tucci cover for the signed limited, which is signed by me, Brendan and Brian Frame, the artists, Mike Soloff, who's our co-owner, Mark Wheatley, who was our color artist, as well as cover artist on the first #1, and Billy Tucci, and even Marshall Dillon, who was our letterer.
Marshall Dillon?
Yes. Great letterer. Before I worked with Mindy, I didn't work with another letterer for 11 years after I met Marshall.
With a name like that, man, you don't want to.
He should do a Western book.
Yeah, definitely. Marshall Dillon's Marshall Dillon. And also, this main cover set. Now, these main cover sets, the one that I contributed to,
yes.
Right here it is. These are only available in comic shops, or are they available?
They're only in comic shops. I would gather probably the American Mythology website has them. I don't think they're offering them as a set.
And you can get them on this campaign, though.
They are in this campaign, and the number 4s are sitting in the very next room. No, actually, they're sitting right here in this room.
That's right. So you get a Howard Chaykin cover right there. If you
seriously,
Presti complete it.
The great thing about this, look, seriously, just stop for a minute and look at that. I got Howard Chaykin, you, Mark Wheatley, and Simone Guglielmini. Are those some badass covers or what? When I went to Howard, I said, hey, I'd really like you to do a springboard, and I didn't want to tell him details. I said, really like you to use Shadow #1 as a springboard, get rid of the mini Uzis, have a Tommy gun, and I'd like to see the fangs. That was a complete description.
Mhm.
And I didn't even see the black and white pencils for it or anything. It just came in fully done. His colors, it was great. And then with you, I remember saying, hey, sort of use Tomb of Dracula as a springboard. I'd like a Tomb of Dracula cover.
Yeah, you had
And
a specific one in mind. It was like, don't homage it, but just kind of do
Yeah.
the spirit of it,
yeah, and that's it. And then Mark, who's been a collaborator for many years, Mark just sent me that.
His
Like
is the
while I
fourth
was
one,
working
right?
on number 1, and I'm like, holy crap, I got to use this as a cover.
Which one's the Marks?
The third one, number 3,
Oh, okay, right next to mine.
right
there.
after
Yeah.
yours. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
then I was a fan of Near Death, the image book. I had seen Simone's work, and I started following him on Facebook, and I really liked it. And then he did a piece that was sort of like this real noir jazz kind of Chicago kind of feel. I don't even know where it's supposed to be. It doesn't even matter. But I saw that and I reached out to him. He's an Italian artist, and when he could fit it in, I did. I went and I had that colored by Wes Hartman, who's colored a lot of my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had that same piece colored in a totally different way by Noel Giddings, deliberately, just because I've always wanted to have a piece I got colored 2 different ways and saw in 2 different lights. And so Noel's piece is the cover for the cover gallery.
Those are really, really nice. It's a nice looking set. And
thanks, man. I was super happy. I was super happy with the level of professionalism. Look at that.
Mhm,
Man, look at that. That looks like I do real comics or something.
Yeah, I got the glow in the dark one right here. The I keep wanting to say it's Police Comics, but it's not. It's what was
Punch.
it? Punch Comics.
Number
Oh,
12.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
Golden Age.
just real quick, the homages there. Punch Comics number 12. I played a little art director. The guy shooting in that one is in the left eye, and I think it's much more dramatic shooting across the skull this way.
I agree.
So me playing art director on a Golden Age classic, how about that? No ego there, right?
Right.
And the guys just nailed it on all this stuff.
Yeah, you've got the Untouchables.
The Untouchables homage there, and I really wanted to do a Christmas cover, and when I thought about it, there's only one choice for me. Everybody else has got their own one, right? But that was my favorite Christmas book as a kid, man.
Yeah, the Stranko Nick Fury.
And then what's really great is that the cover for Fright number 1. I don't know whether my buddy Nick still owns the original or sold it recently, but it's a Frank Thorne original, and hard to go wrong with that as an inspiration.
Yeah, it's funny how our influences or our things that we remember as a kid, or the things we really liked as a kid, now as professionals start showing up in our work.
Oh yeah.
Like me, homaging the Tales of Suspense for because one of my favorite Silver Age series, and I did that on Blood Hunters as one of the cover options, and a lot of people,
absolutely. By the way, I have not finished reading all of the stories in that yet, but so far, what a kick-ass book!
Oh, thank you very much, Dex. I appreciate that.
Honestly, I did. I think sit down and read Garbage Man cover to cover, and even did a retro review on Scoop on it. It was so much fun, and of course that I had read that and went straight into the story in this book because it was a lot of, like I said, it was a lot of fun.
Well, I think you probably enjoyed the last page of that story too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But no, thank you very much. It's one of those things. One of the benefits of doing these newer books, in my case, Wraith of God, and then Kit Carter, is that people see these on the campaign and aren't completely unfamiliar with them. Garbage Man or something you've done prior, and then they Power Cube. They go back and check those out.
Yeah,
and then suddenly you kind of get this rediscovery of some older material that. A lot of people just never saw.
That's really true. In my own small way, there's a reward level called The Story Thus Far, and on particularly on the Kickstarter, I've got a bunch of new readers, And I think that's because we did the comic shop issues. I don't know. But it really came up, and it's been nice. And what I look forward to doing is introducing some of my other stuff like Zombie Proof and McCandless and Company, and maybe a couple of new things like obviously I've got Dead Inspector cooking there. So we'll see.
Well, it's for as turbulent of times as it is in the comic market right now, it's also a very fertile time for a lot of us to get some new stuff out there with an audience that's really eager to explore new stuff where that hasn't always been the case in the past.
Yeah, I think it's really true. And I think that I think we're in a golden age of creativity. And at some point we'll be in a golden age where this resurgence can hit the comic shops as well. I'm not a long-term pessimist about it. You know, there's adjustments that need to be made, but the medium is thriving, and that's that. There's really good cause for excitement there. Hey, do you still have that? Captain Action cover, that number 2?
I think I ditched it.
Okay,
No,
that's okay.
I've got it. I've got it.
Okay. All right. Let me. I got when you put it up, I want to hit you with an idea here.
All right. There we go.
All right. We obviously the fact that I'm doing a 2-issue miniseries demands that one of the covers be an homage to this. There's a female character in the more modern interpretation of Captain Action called Lady Action, and she actually does play a role in the miniseries. And I was thinking about Captain Action holding her, but he's yelling at Capone. The only thing I can't figure out is how to do the 2 logos. I haven't figured that out yet. But I think it'd be that's just.
Well, you'd probably have to shrink your logos down and almost
put them side by side in the same space where the Captain Action logo is now.
Yeah. Well, kind of like, Tales of Suspense that always have Iron Man, Captain America. You kind of do something like that where you're banging them together.
Yeah.
And then you can have, you could have Al Capone back here and
I thought about having
him
Capone,
turning this way,
Capone
looking back,
like looming over them, kind of thing.
Oh, that would work as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that. So anyhow, I'll switch back to Overstreet mode and hit you with great trivia here. Okay, we've probably talked about this before because I talk about it all the time. But the first issue of Captain Action is Jim Shooter's first published credit.
Did he actually do a story in there?
He wrote that.
No kidding. I know he started at DC when he was like 14 or something.
Yeah, he started when he was 13, started getting published when he was 14. And so this is a few years later, but he didn't get published. He didn't get credits, right? And published in the books. But Wally Wood always signed his work. Shooter, as a young writer, always did layouts.
Really?
So Wally treated him like an artist and put his name in the book.
That's interesting because I'm thinking back. So DC didn't really list a lot of. Did they not regularly list credits in the 60s?
Not all of them. No.
That's interesting.
Obviously you had a Bob Kane, which was contractual.
Right, but that's because Marvel was listing credits way
right
early in the 60s.
Man, they matter of fact, Marvel hyped Wally Wood on the cover before they hyped Kirby or Ditko. Daredevil number 5.
I just picked up a copy of Tales of Suspense 71, which is Iron Man hitting the Titanium Man, I think, punching him. And it's Kirby, but it's really slick Kirby. And someone, Marcus Killigrew in the chat made it, because I wasn't sure who inked it. I was like, did Senate ink this? It was Wood inking Kirby.
Wow.
Very, very interesting.
So what happens is Shooter, I think, does the first 2 issues, and then it changes from Mort Weisinger as editor to maybe Julie Swartz. And then it switches from the artist switches from Wally Wood to Kane, inked by Wally Wood.
Right.
And then Kane writes 3, 4, and 5, as well as draws
Because
them.
I'm looking at your listing here in the price guide, and it says Wally Wood art on the first one, Superman appearance. Then you had 2, 3, and 5 are Gil Kane with Wally Wood, and then 4 just Gil Kane cover.
Yeah.
But you didn't mention Shooter. Why didn't you?
What's interesting is just like a lot of people, the guide. When I look at our guide notes, there is an obvious bias. It's comic books. There's an obvious bias toward the artists.
True,
not the writers.
But JC, come on now. Jim Shooter's first published story. That's kind of
not first published story. First published credit.
First published. Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I guess maybe.
Yeah, because obviously he's doing Legion stuff and then Supergirl stuff.
I got you.
The Legion stuff definitely comes first.
And Marcus Killiger said Wood inked Heck on the inside of that issue. Which one are we talking about? We were all over the place.
Jim, there's a comment from Larry's library there that about Jim in an artistic sense. One of the things that you will see in the early Valiant books, pre-Unity, when they're just on the upswing, is our art credit for Paul Creddick, and that's Jim Shooter.
So is his pseudonym, his pen name?
Yeah, it's actually his brother-in-law's name, I think. But
well, he didn't want to seem too like self-serving by giving himself credit for all the
layout. No, he really didn't want people to know how shoestring Valiant was.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you had folks like Bob Layden and other people like that coming in and inking. But Jim is quite capable artist. He always downplays it, and like Larry's library there says, he says Terry Austin saved a piece.
Yeah, I see that.
You know what? He's always magnanimous with credit that way. Sometimes he's right. Sometimes the piece wasn't great, but Jim can really draw. And in terms of working with artists, he can at least say, this is what we're trying to do better than a lot of us. I'm generally paid not to draw and not to sing.
Well, his run, I mean, you can say what you want about Shooter, but his run of success in the 80s at Marvel was pretty significant. So
this is my own bias. I love Jim's era at Marvel, and I know things didn't end well. Okay.
They never do.
Just like baseball, managers are hired to be fired.
Coaches. Yep. That's how it goes.
But if you look at it, what came during that period? First time that Marvel was ever on time with their entire line, ever. They literally got awards from the printer for being on time. Okay. Second, whether we're talking Miller and Jansen Daredevil, Claremont and Sienkiewicz New Mutants, Simonson Thor, Byrne FF, whether we're talking any of that stuff, that's all. And sorry, if you're going to tar him with a brush and say he did X wrong or Y wrong or whatever, which is totally acceptable, then the same thing, the same kind of standard requires you to admit when he did something great, and you look at the stuff that was produced under his watch. It is the second greatest period of Marvel Comics, only equaled or bettered by Stan and Jack and Steve in the beginning.
In the Silver Age, yep. No, you're right. It really is. We've been talking about that on Professionals and other discussions, that just really how, I mean, the 90s had its own level of excitement, but what went on in the 80s was remarkable.
Well, the other thing is, there's an expression that Jim uses all the time, and I've purloined it I just use it fluidly now. and that's this: we stand on the shoulders of giants. Nobody could do, like, you can't make Empire Strikes Back, which is a better movie than Star Wars. You can't make it without Star Wars.
Right.
Okay. Godfather 2 can't be made without Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
90s Marvel, with all the excitement and the stuff coming out, can't be done without the stuff that excited those people when they were younger. And I think that the work that the creators I just named did in that era, and the fact that, man, the average Marvel book was great then. Or now, okay, let's be less dramatic. The average Marvel book was very good then.
Yeah.
If we're talking, I mean, seriously, Micronauts. I mean, you know,
People love Micronauts.
And ROM. I mean, those are not mainstream Marvel books, but what do we have? The addition of the direct market stuff like Kazar and Moon Knight, all these things that flow into this period, and all this great stuff. The Marvel graphic novels, the addition of the fact that people actually used to earn royalties, and all these kind of things. Man, like I said, I don't have any problem with anybody who was a creator there, an employee there, if they said they had a problem with Jim. I wasn't there then. I didn't work there then. I don't, not my business. He's my friend, not somebody I have to defend.
Right.
But I can look at the track record and say, it is the second sustained period of Marvel that produced freaking great work.
Yeah. It was exciting to go to the comic shop, and I was an adult. I mean, I was excited to go to 7-Eleven and these different stores when I was a kid in the 70s to find out what was coming on the rack. That same sort of excitement came back to me, and I was in my early 20s and not expecting it.
Yes.
And it was just like I wanted to go to the comic shop every week and pick stuff up because there was so much cool stuff going on. It really was
and before we get out of here, and I know, like, as usual, I just keep on talking.
But it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yankee Frankie mentions Walt Simonson's Battlestar Galactica. Both Roger McKenzie and Walter together, and then Walter on his own. Some of the greatest stuff ever. And it was the amazing thing was when the comic book started, and I was literally laying on the floor drawing vipers. When the Galactica pilot on the East Coast, Aaron, you might not have experienced this. You're on the West Coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When the Galactica pilot was interrupted by the Camp David peace accords. So I'm cooling my jets there for like an hour, and I just start drawing vipers. So I've been a Galactica fan since the beginning. When Marvel Galactica came out, it was like really ho-hum. And by later in the series, it was so disappointing that it was canceled because it was freaking great.
Isn't that, God, there's so many, you just wonder why some things find an audience and some things don't, because a lot of times it has nothing to do with quality.
Yeah. And the other thing we know is that there's licensing concerns and other stuff like that. So maybe it's sales, maybe it's other terms. That's there's a little bit of this that's less mystifying to me now. But some of it, like, you just look at it and you go, I don't care whether it's a hit. This is a freaking great comic.
When did Shooter get ousted at Marvel? Was it
like 88?
88. Right. Because then, help me out here. Who replaced him? I know him.
Tom DeFalco.
Yeah. Tom. And that's Tom was there when I was just breaking in, but I was such a fan of all that stuff. And I've never been a big DC guy. And there were a few DC things coming and going that would always get my attention, like, Byrne's Man of Steel miniseries and stuff.
Sure.
But most of the time I was just captivated by Marvel. And I know a lot of people, like you said, felt too constrained and that Shooter was too controlling and to this and to that. But man, he
Yeah,
got
I
he got it out on time, and he got out some good stuff, you know.
yeah, and
people.
not only that, if we take that, he's too controlling. And like I said, I'm never going to object to people who worked there who have an opinion, right? Because I wasn't there. I just. But here's what you say: if you're going to tar with that brush, you still have to say what was done under his
Right.
watch. What
Right.
did these creators do? If he was so controlling, how did these things happen?
Right.
And you know what? Some of it is when you hire and fire people, you're going to piss some people off.
Yep.
And I wasn't mature enough in the period where he got fired that I didn't believe the stuff about him. I did believe it. Maybe that's why I'm such a zealot now, because I'm a convert. But in the interim, I became a manager in my first career. I hired and fired in the end, literally hundreds of people. And I understood that when I was promoting them, I was just a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
When I was giving him a raise, I was a wonderful guy. And when I was saying like, hey, if you do this again, you're going to get fired, I was a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
So
it always goes that way. And it's, I mean, you understand people's, you know, feelings get involved.
It literally has nothing to do with you as an individual.
Right.
Once you grow up and you get past that and you go, that's just, that guy's waving at me because I'm a boss, not because he knows me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
when Overstreet's fan got canceled, oh, there were people who just weren't my friends anymore because I couldn't cover them. And I was only surprised by a couple of them. Thank goodness I had that experience at Avis first.
got used to it. I don't know that I could ever be in that position where I'm just, having to, because there is, you have to let people go that you like sometimes. It has nothing to do with, it's, it's numbers,
dude,
it's performance.
Dude, listen, let me tell you, the great thing is, I know I never fired anybody that didn't fire themselves, but I've been in a position of laying people off. That sucks.
Yes, I can imagine,
because that's not anything they did.
Right. But that no one ever thinks they did anything anyway. So whether you're firing them or laying them off, they're
yeah. Well, I'll tell you a story off the air one time where the guy knew what he did and
fired himself. I know this is coming.
Pretty much.
Oh, all right. Well, Jace, this has been fantastic as always. I love sitting here talking comics and with you. You're such
I see we kept it to an hour this time. I see we kept it to an hour this time.
Oh, did we? No. Yeah. Yeah. I think you meant to say 2 hours, but anyway, time flies, right? You're on the East Coast, man. It's getting late for you. I'm still about dinner time, but I want to thank everybody joining us. I assume Ethan's streaming over me. That's why our numbers are down today. But unfortunately, it's the way it goes, and we'll catch them in reruns. But JC's been here talking about Al Capone Vampire 0 issue. You'll find the link in the description of this video to go and back that campaign. Only $60 away from a ton of great free stuff that'll come with the campaign once he hits that number. So go over there and back that. Kit Carter Planet Doom graphic novel is my project that I'm currently working on. You'll find the link in the description of this video that takes you there to the Indiegogo campaign. If you want to check that out and back it, if you have not done so already. Everybody that has backed, we thank you guys for your support. I got
to ask, is the whole thing going to be as beautiful as the pages that were in Wraith of God?
So far.
Oh man, that's
so
going to be a great
book. I am thrilled to death at the artwork. I've got Matt Ryan inking because I wanted to get this turned around a little bit faster. And so I have Matt Ryan inking it, and you're familiar with his work over me on Wonder Woman and Justice League and so many other things. He's a tremendous inker, and we're very much in tune, and the stuff looks great, and I'm just thrilled. It's one of those things I'm waiting for the day where I can hold it in my hand and open it up, because I know I got Kelsey Shannon coloring, and he's a great colorist.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a beautiful book. Even if the story sucks, which I hope it doesn't, I don't think it will, but even if it does, the artwork is going to carry it. So I'm really looking forward to actually having that finished and in my hands, because I think it's going to be really, really cool. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it very much. And be looking for me on Kings tomorrow night, Professionals on Tuesday, and then Graybeard Studio right here at 2:00 on Wednesdays is always great fun as well. So thank you all. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, what's left of it, and have a great week coming up.
Good night,
and
everybody.
I want to thank my guest, JC Vaughn, once again for joining us.
Thanks for having me,
a
man.
great time and a great conversation. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time right here on Aaron Live.